This conference will now be recorded.
Just cold.
Is Jerry showing seats?
No.
Mike? No.
Just grab it.
She's what?
Traveling.
Spread out.
Out of town.
Yeah.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we gather this day to do the important business for the people of the village of Owego. Grant us wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Amen. Amen. All right, so we're gonna go a tiny bit out of order because we got our EMS department head here and he needs to leave by 7:30. He's got like 2 more seconds worth of stuff. I do have more. Thank you, Dad.
All right, so good news, we have 5 new volunteer applications for you tonight. The first one is Harry Eldridge, lives over on Main Street and wants to join. He works in healthcare. He wants to start driving and then potentially get his EMT and that kind of stuff from there. You want to do them individually?
Yes, we have, yeah. So would somebody like to make a motion? Or- You have an extra copy.
Brad, you gonna do this?
Are they all the same?
That's all his stuff.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any questions about Harry?
This one is Harry Eldridge?
Harry?
Yes.
Let's vote on him. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And
Next one is Maxim Kilmer. He's actually already a New York State EMT. He was volunteering with a neighboring department and realized that he can volunteer here and come from his house. So he wants to join Owego EMS.
Vote to accept him in EMS.
Second.
any other questions about him? Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes, his middle name is Charles. Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And
All right, the next one is Amber Duke. Lives over on Southside Drive, wants to start by driving the ambulances and maybe consider EMT, we'll see. But she does have her Class B license, which is a plus, so she's got great experience with large vehicles.
Motion to approve.
Second.
any other discussion about Amber? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Yes.
Next one is Jeff Duke, also lives on Southside Drive.
Related?
Yes, husband and wife. He's had his CPR card in the past, it has expired. He also works right here in the village, so it's convenient for us, and he wants to drive and potentially take his EMT in the fall.
Vote to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? He's okay, volunteer.
What does he do? She's a smoking works, so that's completely okay, because it's very different from what he does.
Yeah, it's volunteers, not paid.
Okay. Shall I vote Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
And the last one is Mary Pfeiffer, who lives on Dean Street, is retired and has been an EMT in the past for many years. Isn't sure if she wants to get her EMT back, but she wants to at least, help out and that kind of stuff. So,
Mary Pfeiffer.
Second.
Any questions about Mary? Fran?
Something about Mary?
Yes.
Charles?
No.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And yes.
that is all. Thank you.
Charles.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. See,
Thanks.
got you all in time.
Thank you.
Tell you what. All right, we'll go back to public comment. So, what do we got? Anything? Okay. Start with Pat. We can get her out here too.
My turn?
Yep.
Okay, well, we're here about Strawberry Fest, and also if you have any questions about anything else that's going on during the year. But Thursday night, on the 19th of June, we'll be at the Hickories with the 5K run. And Tioga Bank and Tri-Town Insurance are sponsoring the majority of that, so that's helpful. So we're very glad about that. We've already got about 100 runners on that signed up already, so that should be good. And then on Friday, we start with the downtown, with the various musical groups and I think you should all have the letter that I sent to you, all have a copy of all the entertainment. I left it with the secretary and she said she'd put it in your minutes. Did that happen?
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I won't need to go over all that. And then we're having the wine and beer tasting tent from 5 to 8 that night. And then Angel Face Pageant, which will be at the Baptist Church. That's run by a private person. And then fireworks, courtesy of the Whitmore Mini Tanks, will be at 9:30 by Young Explosives. They're the people that did the lights on the river, and they were outstanding. And then on Saturday, we're off with the Strawberry Fest Parade. John Loftus is putting it together. He did a fabulous job last year. And I think it usually lasts a good hour and a half, maybe a little longer. But it really represents the whole community. It's really terrific. So, and then after that, there's all the different entertainments that's going on, the wine and beer tent again. We'll have children's activities on Courthouse Square. We've got Nate the Great doing a couple of magician and magic shows for the children, plus many other things. The Nazarene Church, who normally does the children's activity, couldn't do it this year because of conflict with graduation. This year we have a conflict with the school graduating the same day as same weekend as Strawberry Fest. So it's going to be a huge crowd in town. We prefer having two separate crowds on two separate weekends, but I guess that's not meant to be. So, and so that essentially, in a nutshell, we're working on sponsors. We have quite a few people already. I can't tell you the amount, but most things are underway. We had a question about the bathrooms at fairgrounds. Will they be available, do you know?
They should be done by then.
You think it might be? Okay. We checked with the fair and they're okay with us using it for parking, and I assume you do. So we'll have busing on Saturday from the Hickories, hopefully the Grand Union parking lot. We're still working on that, and the fairgrounds, so to bring people into town. So I'm here to have hopefully some explanations if you need some more information. You asked me to come back so that you could clear up any last minute things.
I assume you're gonna put together the normal action plan, incident action
Yeah,
plan?
Jeff Winchell is working on that. We've submitted the DOT permit, but we haven't done the mass gathering permit yet. Paul Cole usually did that, but I think Jeff is taking it over and making sure, working with the chief and the EMT to make sure that gets, I mean, we can't have a festival without it.
Yeah.
We gotta get it done.
Yeah, I work with Mike who just left, but yeah.
Pardon?
I work with Mike who just left Roden.
Mike Rhodes,
Yeah, I don't know Mike Roden.
he's
He's
the
just-
gentleman
well,
who was
he's-
speaking.
We can get you in contact.
Oh, that was the
Yeah.
new,
He's the EMS chief right now.
oh, I guess I should have guessed, right? That's what he was talking about, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I'm sure it won't be a problem, but we have to get that in a month ahead of the festival. Yeah, so they can question us about all kinds of things. And we also have Reeves helping out that day to help with the traffic control, and they were terrific last year. Because the police department really doesn't have enough people, they have to bring people in to help. So, yeah. Well, so far, so good. I don't know, you never know until it gets closer. Our theme is Strawberry Horizons. We were thinking with the graduation, that might be a nice theme for the graduates, thinking ahead to their future careers. Does anybody have anything they want to ask, or are you okay with everything going ahead?
Well, you mentioned children's activities at the courthouse square. Is that at the Main Street end?
Yes, at the Main
Since
Street.
you're having the wine and beer at the,
And then
Front
Wine and
Street
Beer
end, right?
will be out by the bridge, and,
Right.
yeah, on park on Court Street corner, where it's always been.
So never
Yeah.
the two shall meet.
Right.
No fake IDs.
Separate.
Yeah. If anybody has any thoughts or things you think would be helpful to us, new ideas, we're always open, making it a little bit more interesting and exciting.
You do a wonderful job, Pat.
Well, we try.
I'm not sure which permissions we gave last time, so I'm gonna make a motion for 3 permissions this time. One is to waive the open container for the wine and beer tent on Friday evening and Saturday. This is gonna be 3 pieces in one motion. Second is to allow parking at the Marvin Park. The Agricultural Society only owns the piece up on Elm Street. The rest of the park is ours, and we park in there, so that we allow, and there's no parking allowed there, so that we allow parking for this festival on Marvin Park. And the third is that we waive the vendor fees that we would normally collect. And of course, you guys collect those vendor fees.
Yeah.
So those 3 things in one motion.
Very nice.
We're seconding it.
Got a second. Okay, any discussion on that? All stuff we always do, good stuff.
Now,
And of course, all these things are always contingent on all the proper things.
Yeah, we've got to get all.
Yeah, all the
Well,
proper
there are
stuff.
2 permits.
It's always contingent, but
Now, on different programs that we have downtown, on Lake Street, sometimes they do have limited alcohol consumption at some of the establishments outside. Now, will there be any of that?
we've not approved that in quite some
I
time.
know, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, I see. Well, I know the Barleycorn used to, they sort of fence off an area where people can be just outside there, I think.
No.
No, they can't be outside at all. They have to drink
Not usually.
inside.
They usually need a.
Is that true with the Elks too?
The Elks has their own property in the front yard that they fence off that they can do,
I see.
They stay on their property.
Okay,
but we don't allow it anyplace else. in the
Okay.
village.
all right, well, do you want us to kind of put that in the rules kind of thing? It might be in there already, I'm not sure.
So the village code is,
Right, it's, yeah, it's liquor law.
Yeah,
Yeah, there has to be a special variance.
we might want to reinstate it.
Hypothetically, New York State, you can get a 1-day temporary permit.
Yeah.
Is that allowed or not?
And that would
Well,
allow-
by New York State law, it is. You can get a,
I believe that one day
You
is
could
only
get a
for,
temporary
And
permit,
what
but you
does that allow
couldn't do
you
it
to
on
do?
public
It's
property.
like
It would have to be
cider-
on your own property.
yeah, cider, wine,
right,
and beer
well,
only.
so the question is, we own half the sidewalks or do you?
If we wanted to sell like a strawberry, not a liquor cocktail, but something a little bit softer on our,
Maybe
Half of the
Front
sidewalk,
sidewalk.
right in
with
front
a
of our
1-day
building.
permit,
With a 1-day permit from
we
the
should
state.
legally be allowed to.
Where does that,
Yeah, where does it
where does
fall?
that take us?
Good question. We,
We'll have to
Can I
research
speak?
What's that?
that. I don't know, we'll have to look into it.
Well, when we have had.
Containing it.
I'm sorry, Russ, you go ahead.
we're not, we've gone through this a few times, and so we're not absolutely 100% sure, but we believe that the way that works is that has to be self-contained
Yeah.
if someone's.
Yeah, you
That
have
would
to
be
have
the
a
plan.
boundary around the
Well, but yeah.
front of the property, yeah.
I think
with
that's
a-
what the
it used to-
Barleycorn did.
it used to be
when
no
there was
access.
something about the-
No access from
Put up a
the,
little
from the
fence or
street.
Sure.
But anyways, it's all confused.
Yeah, you have to put a little rope or
And a
something
lot of
around
signs,
Yeah.
it.
no
Signs,
alcohol
yeah,
beyond
no alcohol beyond this point.
and monitored, which we would
And
all,
you know, and you can do that without,
1-day permit.
1-day permit from,
and who gets that, you or?
We
we
would get
we
it.
do,
You
that,
do,
yeah.
and any establishment selling alcohol gets it.
It has to get that only.
I don't believe
permit.
liquor is included, but it could be a temporary 1-day beer, wine, cider,
All right,
so softer.
But it has to be contained. You literally have to have
Yeah.
ropes or,
yeah, so you'd have a few tables up against the building.
Oh,
No
against the
alcohol
building.
beyond the
Yeah.
sign.
Thanks for the meeting at hand,
sorry,
please.
we're just, yeah, sorry.
I appreciate the banner. We're in the middle of the motion at this point.
Right.
Thank
All
you.
right,
We have a motion for this,
Well-
and we're not taking any action, this is gonna be this motion, we're not taking any action on other potential liquor things at this particular moment.
Yeah, well, I brought that up because in the past we have, the village board has approved, outside area, contained areas like, what, originals?
We have not done that for the
in the
Strawberry
past.
Fest.
No, not for Strawberry Fest, but for other, the fall activities and stuff. So that's why I questioned it, is it just the wine and beer tent on the courthouse square, or are we going to do that?
Typically, Strawberry Fest is just the wine and beer tent.
So when you
That's what
said,
we're doing.
yeah, when you said the waive the open container law for Friday and Saturday night, you're saying
I said at the beer tent.
just for the wine and
Beer,
beer tent.
wine, beer tent.
Any other discussion on that motion? Oh, Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes,
Char,
Yes.
and yes. Anything else on the Strawberry Fest?
Just the graduation, I know it got moved to 6 PM.
Right.
I mean, there's gonna be an influx of traffic. Is Reeves gonna be the only one maintaining that traffic flow, or will the police be involved in the beginning of that?
The
Yeah,
police,
in
the
past,
police
we had
department's
Fire
working,
department.
the
Yeah,
police
did it
department's been
actually get
working with
moved?
the
'Cause I
school.
heard
Yeah, they voted on it, and they moved it from 2 to 6, because a lot of families couldn't.
Right, I know they had an issue with, like, families of teachers couldn't come.
So is that Saturday or Friday?
Friday.
Friday.
I suggested to the school informally, which maybe I'll have to suggest formally, that they contact the fire police, since HOF doesn't use them anymore. But they may be able to direct traffic around the festival. There's plenty of ways to get out of Owego and into Owego, not
We have a lot of
through downtown.
families who are kids there, and they told us that they sent out a boat, and it had been, I guess, pretty much unanimously decided 6 PM would be more beneficial for people to get there.
That makes more sense.
Well, yeah,
But,
it just happens to be on a day when there's already gonna be a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just traffic flow may be interesting.
at the same time, regular thing starts at 5.
Well, the
So-
festival and the school and the police department have been discussing this issue. So I don't know what the final thing will be. They're all
Friday night is
aware.
interesting. There are less streets closed Friday night, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Really only Lake Street, part of Front Street. Right.
They were going to have it at 2 o'clock, but then the parents objected. And I can see why, if you work, you can't go, you
Yeah.
have to take the day off.
Not Friday.
Then it was gonna be 5 o'clock, but now it's 6 o'clock. Hopefully, we can work it out. We'll have to somehow or other.
No.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting day. We'll see how it goes. But I did suggest to them to get a hold of fire police. Maybe there might be some extra people to direct traffic in or out if they need it.
Yeah, right. Hopefully, that won't be on the Strawberry Festival bill for security.
No, that's up to the school.
Yeah, that's what
In the school and the fire department.
I even thought they could park at the school and have maybe a bus where they could take, just a circulating bus, could take the parents around.
Yeah, if the school could organize a
But I don't know
shuttle.
if they're willing to do that or not.
We do have one other thing for you, which is a parade permit for holiday showcase. Got the wrong date, right?
Yes, the merchants decided the 8th of November was too early for them to get their holiday act together right after Halloween. So they voted on changing it a week to the 15th of November. That's when Santa comes into town and we have the horse and carriage.
Right. So we already approved it at the 8th. So
And
we,
you'd approved it for the 8th, but not for the 15th. So that, I resubmitted that.
so we need to basically reapprove it for the 15th.
A motion, we change the date to November 15th for that holiday showcase.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
So just remind me, was that where we closed the street down for the Santa to come around with a horse?
For like
Yeah.
20 minutes, yeah.
And did we have to get a state approval for that? I don't think we ever
I
did.
think so.
It's more or less an escort. We need a police escort to escort the carriage around. We don't close any streets.
And several months ago, we had already approved to do that.
So this is a date change for Sam?
This date change. Santa's coming a week later.
Always still shows up.
Still showing up.
What's that called?
You still got your elf outfit, Charles?
Yes, I do.
Off the look.
An awfully big elf.
Usually the week you had it, I was always doing something, but hopefully that one I'm
I'll put it on the shelf.
That'll fit on the shelf.
not. There, let's vote on that. Rusty.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Fran.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
And yes.
Okay, so that's approved again.
Is there any other information right now? Okay.
Anybody else have anything for HOA?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks
keeping,
for coming.
thanks for coming.
Thank
If
you.
you have any ideas or suggestions or sponsors, let us know. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Good night, Bobby. All right, so next up, we got Hunt with 90 Temple Street. So,
All right.
floor is yours, guys.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to talk about the Owego Police Department restoration project. Back last year in August, we had put it out to bid. We had received 3 bids. They were all significantly over budget. We had de-scoped with those contractors and tried to establish routes forward for getting that project to start. And that's kind of where it had left off. So I went through the process of, de-scoping with the contractors to understand where exactly their costs were being driven from, to understand, what would be the best route forward in terms of repackaging it, putting it back out to bid, having a project that we could award. So through that process, identified some solutions that we could reduce scope with. There's also heavy conversation regarding windows. So part of the scope of the project is repairing the existing windows. Being a historic building and being a EPF funded grant project, SHPO has a big say in what happens. So those are original windows to the building, and per SHPO's memorandum of understanding, that it is very hard to replace historic original windows. What they tend to do is require a fully new custom window built to match that existing window. And where this comes into play is it is cost prohibitive to replace all of the windows on the police station. So we had some discussion back and forth about potentially looking at just the front windows being replaced in their entirety. Again, this is something that would be up for SHPO review. So, we would have to go through the process and get their approval of it. It needs to go through a few different channels in order for that to happen. So I'm here today to discuss how the village would like to proceed forward on the project. Being, a few options as I see is, continue with the scope as it's been established and breaking it up into alternates. So then, we can award what we can award and, leave the rest on the table. There's another option to reduce the scope of work and take out, a certain aspect of it that has a high dollar amount. Or the third option would be to go after that window scope. As I understand it, that is a big issue with the building for the occupants as well. So in that scenario, really dialing down the other scope in order to achieve the window replacement. So, I can field any kind of questions that you guys might have on the entire project scope. But to give you kind of a rough idea, we're looking at a lot of masonry restoration. There's a lot of brick damage. A lot of that is associated to inadequate gutter systems and downspouts. So there's a lot of disconnected downspouts that are putting water onto the side of the building that is further deteriorating the brickwork. There is damage to the stone foundation. There is damage to the wood brackets at the top of the roof eaves. So there is a lot of paint work associated to fixing those brackets, repainting the decorative trim. All of the windows we're calling out to be repaired or restored. There was identified asbestos-containing material in those windows, so it would need to be abated. So that is a big driver for the cost associated to the windows. But those were included, as well as the access way into the basement that has seen better days at this point. And that's kind of the broad overview of the project scope.
So the roof gutter thing, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So we recently did the roof and the gutters and the downspouts.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think, obviously that problem is there, but it's probably not continuing to get worse, right?
Yeah, so from From the time that I was out there, there's a lot of disconnected downspouts. So whether or not that those were just not there when I saw them, or have been repaired since then, your issue might be a little lessened.
Okay.
Part of what is happening is the gutter sizing is a little bit small for the roof, and you're getting a lot of water action that sheets straight off the roof, or you're having ice dam issues where your gutters are clogging up and that water is kind of backing down. So, I mean, a simpler solution to what we were proposing, we could look at just replacing what is needed and what hasn't been addressed in the a few months since we've been looking at this.
So in the original scope, it said that we were going to look at restoring or possibly replacing the windows.
Yes.
The
So
restoring takes a lot less money than the replacement windows.
not exactly. So in this scenario, there. Side of it, but the replacement also brings in some other costs in the process of putting. Had any official direct communication with SHPO regarding this matter. We have been working with a historic preservation architect who deals with SHPO on a day-to-day basis. Have those be restored instead of being replaced. So it's true we have not reached out to SHPO yet because, as I've alluded to, it's a lot of detailing work in order to
Replacement, would they be able to be double paned so that we would have more economical, or would it still have to be a single pane?
You certainly could do it as a double pane. So there is divided lights in these windows, and you would have to replicate that, which does add cost, but it is potential, yes.
I guess the other question. Export or whatever that's called.
So the fact that this is a EPF grant program, they are very stringent.
And this building is in the historic district, or?
I can't speak to that.
I think it is.
And EPF is a state program, right?
Yes. So that is the type of grant that you have gone after.
It's very specific.
Yep.
What's it stand for? I forget.
Environmental Protection Fund is what I believe it is.
I
Yes.
like when he puts you on the spot.
I know it's through the historic preservation, Rusty.
Some of the information I don't seem to have, doesn't matter, that I need to know a little bit more about the bidding, and you've given us a generalization. Did the people bid out pieces of this so that this much was for brick restoration and this much was for windows and this much was for something? Did they do it in that manner?
No, so it was a public bid situation.
Yeah.
We had received 3 bids from one local contractor to more eastern-based contractors. What they submit to us is a singular number for the project.
Okay.
We did have 2 alternates for the project. One was replacing the light poles outside of the police department, and the other was for, I think, some additional masonry scope. So in order to get the information of, windows are this much, painting is this much, I had to de-scope with them and kind of ask some pointed questions to figure out. They're not required to share that information with me.
How much, we get to know this, and do we get to talk about in public how much these bids were off? Did we do that, Mike?
Back when we got them, there were a lot.
That was in October something, just remind me.
Yeah, so
He's probably got the numbers, but there were a lot.
yeah, so we had a low bid of $560,000. This was from a contractor, New Vista, which we established was not necessarily an ideal contractor. This is someone that's outside of New York City and kind of has a faulty reputation.
Okay.
Next lowest bidder was Streeter, and they had a bid of $633,000. And the third bid was Ganem out of Albany, and they had a bid of $685,000.
Just a quick question. So if the village awarded it in excess of the 468, the village would just have to pay for that, right? Out of pocket.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. From my understanding on those conversations afterwards, it was not a feasible option to award those.
Since our match is already 157,395.
And that with the 468 comes to around 6.25.
So in addition, I always like to account for a contingency plan. So typically on a project of this size, we're looking at 10% or less. So, that's a ballpark of about 50 grand. So I try, what I would like is a project that's in the $490,000 range, so that if any change orders come up, if any work needs to be revised during the process, you guys are covered in terms of having the money for it.
Always a good plan.
So we talked about windows, which is extremely important to us.
Mhm.
Different folks have different thoughts. Some of us have the thought that, and once again, we don't know these exact numbers, but 400 grand is going to do the brickwork and pointing up the bricks, which we think is, or whatever, because they're not breaking it out, we think that's way excessive. The windows are extremely important. Interestingly enough, you said that there might be a way to do just the front windows,
Mhm.
and that's the part that's the most solid. It's the side windows that are in terrible shape. So if we were not going to do windows, it would be the front that we would not do, and we would want to do all the ones up the side.
Mhm.
Rusty, one of the things he mentioned, and this is, I think, important for the trustees to just understand, when you bid the project, you can really get kind of more granular with alternates.
Mhm.
And that would allow you to say all the windows, just the front windows, just the side windows, with the masonry, without the masonry, with basement entrance, right? Like,
We'd have to select a specific base bid amount, so there's something that you're gonna do no matter what. And then the pieces after that could all be alternates, and then you can pick and choose what fits within the budget.
Yeah, so it's really identifying what's the main driver of this grant. I would suggest making that at least the scope, and then having as alternates everything else. And then hopefully at least the base bid comes in with something you can afford, and then you just add all the other stuff in as you have money for it.
Yeah, ideally we would have a prioritization list where, we have the most important scope, and then we go thereafter with what's least important. So To give you an idea, and I can certainly provide this, you know, to the board if needed. We, on average, so averaging all of these bids together, the Windows scope, just for the windows, is about $100,000. We were calling out for new storm windows. That was about $9,000. Asbestos abatement associated to the windows, that was about $73,000.
Say that again, how much?
Asbestos abatement,
I know, how much? was that?
$73,000.
So the windows all combined is about 200.
Now that includes all the windows, right?
That would be every single window on the building.
All the windows
Yep.
on the building, yes.
Being restored with single pane glass being put back. The basement access shed was $82,000. The paint work, so just the brackets, window frames, the door frames, all of that, $95,000.
Rodney and I are gonna do that for 15.
The masonry restoration was $176,000. The general conditions for the project, so there are a lot of complications with the fact that this is a police department that is active with minimal lay down area. So this means contractors are gonna have to do a lot of work out of trailers, bringing them in and bringing them out. So we saw high general conditions of about $104,000. Gutters were about $14,000. That gets us to the rough average of $659,000 cost.
So let me ask the elephant question. So far, where we are so far, what do you think we've incurred from Hunt?
So as far as I know, at this point, we are paid up to date. So I believe our fee for this project,
I don't remember.
I don't either.
So,
I believe, we might run past that real quick.
I
but
believe,
at this point, we're not, if we're repackaging, so we went out to bid, you know, we got bids that weren't favorable. Okay, if we repackage and put it back out as is with alternates and stuff to try to get it back in the budget, there's not gonna be any additional cost from Hunt to do that.
I just wanted to know what Hunt's cost was for this project.
Yeah,
So basically, you're at normal costs through this phase of the project
correct.
with it, so you expect you're within budget, nothing extra
Right.
occurred at this point.
I just don't remember what it is. I'm asking what it is.
I don't,
They don't
We got it somewhere. Look at it.
And we've already paid that?
Correct. Because that's.
yeah, you have not paid all of it.
That's what?
Counts part of our match, you know what I mean? It's a.
so it's been paid up to bidding phase. There's roughly 25% of our fee left over for construction activities.
So my
There's
moving
a reason I
off,
asked all this.
moving off of that topic, because I just want to spit this out before I forget it. I would suggest the board, if you can put together like, maybe you already have, but a document that's just like, here's the scope items.
Mhm.
And list them all with boxes next to them, and then they can all sit quietly in some time during their day and prioritize what they think's all important, and then the board can have a good discussion after you've gone each individually through that exercise to figure out what should be the base scope versus alternates, because I doubt that they're gonna be in a position tonight to hash all that out.
Absolutely.
Was there, I thought there was foundation work in the scope.
Yeah, so there is stone foundation work. There's some serious decay on the access shed side, where there is, you know, the joints have completely fallen. So there is that work associated as well. That would be lumped into the masonry work. So the one thing that I would preface for that activity is if we were going the route of trying to replace the windows with new windows to match the existing conditions, that is a situation where it is not in line with our original agreement and the scope of work for the project. So that activity probably would incur an additional fee from our subconsultant in terms of detailing out the windows. It's a daunting task to redraw every aspect of that window. So at that point, you know, we probably would be looking at an additional fee. You know, I couldn't ballpark that because I'd like to approach it as, you know, whatever time it takes, that's what we pay out, you know.
Could those old windows be sold for anything?
Absolutely.
Scrap value.
Absolutely. How much and how much return on the effort to do that, I couldn't speak to.
You'd have to find the right person that would be willing to buy them.
Yeah. Find somebody else with a really old police station.
I did a bunch of checking into the windows, and a little bit into the project in general. And so, you were approved 2 years ago for the repairs, but, it states that, it's repair to the existing windows
Mhm.
and not replacement.
Correct.
But that, expired, January 4th. So you would need to reapply for an extension from them. And then you could argue or a case for replacement windows at that time. But they also recommended a contractor.
This is SHPO you're talking about on this?
No, just the Historic Preservation Commission. And I reached out to the county, and they suggested that we restore as many windows as possible instead of replacing just the front windows.
Mhm.
And they thought that $10,000 price was too high, and that you could probably find something lower.
So yes, we would have to go back to SHPO to get reapproval on the project. That is a 2-month long process, probably best case scenario. We can't initiate through this project route of directly soliciting a contractor. So for the fact that there is public money involved, it needs to be a publicly bid project. So we can't solicit pricing from a specific contractor. We need to have it open up to the community at large.
Sure, but I guess the point was that all the prior approvals and the scoping mentioned the restoration of windows, but like the package that went out just only included replacement windows for those bids?
No, it was full restoration of all windows was the original scope and bid package.
So we need to maybe pick out which are our worst windows and focus on those?
Yes, so we have a list of the windows that have broken panes in them. And that's a great start. Anything that is inoperable, where the counterweights and balances are not functioning properly, so they cannot lift the windows themselves, that would be the next step. And then after that, whatever windows we could get in, we'll add in. But identifying which windows in particular certainly is a good activity.
Like if there's some that we just need to replace, we could argue that case and then just try to restore the rest.
Yes, potentially, but it is, as I said before, there is a significant lift in order to do the detailing and submission for the replacements specifically.
I don't think there was any windows out there that were so far gone they couldn't be restored. So I don't think that there's an issue with not being able to restore them. It's just identifying which ones are the most priority.
And you're proposing to put storm windows on all of them?
Yeah.
Yes,
Which will help insulate them.
absolutely.
So, anyway.
Yep.
This may be a dumb question, but being a police station and a courthouse, do we have to have any bulletproof anything or any new requirements in addition to this historic aspect?
We certainly don't have them.
Probably don't want to ask such questions.
Oh.
No, I assume we're grandfathered in because of how long it's been a police station. A new police station.
I wasn't sure what the cost associated with investing in our.
That's a good question to ask somebody.
There had been grants available through the
Office of Court Administration.
it was through the Inflation Reduction Act. And that covered the exterior doors and windows, and it did cover the bulletproof glass and stuff for security, but all of that's now gone. Yeah, all the funds.
And I doubt any of those bulletproof windows are historic.
I don't know that wood would support the impact of a bullet anyway.
Right.
So how does that work with the storm windows on historic?
So SHPO does understand that you need functional windows to some degree. So the storm windows aren't considered, an issue. There are the frames in place currently for the storm windows. Most of them are not in place. So the fact that it's already in existing condition gives us the ability to replace those.
They're just regular aluminum
Yep.
storm windows, just.
Yeah. So the way they look at it is that you can put something on to help protect and weather-proof to a certain extent, but they're easily removed to get back to the original historic nature. You're not permanently installing something that's going to ruin the overall historic nature of the building. They could be removed at a later date to get back to what you currently have.
So what you do is get a metal pole barn, put it around the entirety of the.
I'm working on this stuff. One of the things that, once again, a historic building, blah, 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 it's a police station. The first floor windows should all have bars on them. I even do that, not that we could afford it or want it, I don't, but.
Yeah, SHPO probably wouldn't let us. So I'll refresh you on what the gentleman from Hunt said, which is their design, which was approved by the board and put up to bid, is what they were contracted for. And significant redesign will cost additional money. So, I mean, I hear, conversations about what we should be doing there, but unless you want to pay on a lot more money to redesign everything again, then your option is to move forward with the project as it is.
But if we were to move forward, it wouldn't be additional money if you repackaged it, sent it up to bid.
Correct.
As they designed it already.
Right, with options or
Yeah,
something.
with alternates, and I mean, we can reduce the scope, remove stuff, create alternates. That's not a problem. That's part of what we need to do to bring it back into budget.
So that we get rid of that problem of one lump bid of 600, whatever thousand.
I also want to let everybody know that it's now a year later,
Right.
and I can guarantee
Oh, yeah, that's
it's
600
gonna
eight.
be more money now.
Oh, yeah.
There's just no way around it.
We're not buying those windows from China.
No, but the aluminum's got to come
Yeah.
from somewhere
Yeah.
for the storm windows. I mean,
At
you
25%.
never know.
So there's a reason that I asked a question. Because and the way I think everything is, you consider everything. If we decide not to do this project, we don't want to do it at all. We've decided this is just not good. That's why I'm asking you how much money we paid you. What have we paid you? What do we owe you if we scratch this? That's why I was asking how much.
I believe
Yeah.
if you
You
pay
owe
us-
us for the drive down here today. And that's it.
I mean, what you designed, everything you've done so far.
Yes.
58 cents a mile.
So I believe it's up to 7.
That's why I was asking you how much is in this.
So I don't know for certain exactly how much our fee was. If I had to take a rough guess based
That's
off
what I want, a rough guess.
the project value, I would believe it was probably in the neighborhood of $40,000.
Okay, 46. Now that you say 40, I think it's 40, 47.
And
Anyway,
we paid you most of that already.
75% of that. Yes.
Okay.
I think it was 46 something.
yeah. When you said 40, it's 46 something sounds.
I'm just
But
guessing.
Nobody knew.
Seen this paper at all?
Contracts in my office somewhere.
That's the one that I got today. Assuming those are numbers that are from the past.
Yeah.
48.
Or
But you wouldn't, you wouldn't obviously be paying us for anything through construction administration. So through the bidding process, which I believe we've already invoiced for, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Just information ahead. Thank you.
I can get that information and send it to you guys tomorrow.
So I know you guys are looking for a path.
And you don't have to give it to us tonight if you still want to have a conversation about it.
What other questions do people have for them? And obviously we'll be in contact.
I'd like to see about how we could get together and figure out what are the worst windows and what, sort of isolate what's the, best plan for, sort of what needs the most work or most attention
Absolutely.
for the money we have.
Wouldn't be an issue to do that.
And that we check on the downspout situation and maybe just make sure that like nothing's getting worse.
I think we may have fixed a bunch of that, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that yet until we look at it.
That is a minor.
Yeah. Yeah, we asked for like sleeves on those drains to take it away from the building.
Yeah,
I don't think
that
maybe
happened.
they.
If they're going underground pipes, how is that?
I also know there's a little bit,
I was kind of half talking.
Okay. there was a little bit more money that was thrown in because somebody hit the stairwell enclosure, so there was some insurance
Right.
money for that was gonna be put into this. I don't remember how much that was.
I don't think it was very much.
It's like 28,000 or something like that. I don't know if it was even that much. I don't know if that's still available for this or not.
Probably.
So I can certainly put together a list of the scope items kind of broken down. I'll try to do it in a way that makes sense to keep things grouped together, but I'll give a good description of each one, and you all can go through the task of prioritizing what's most important to you all. And then from that point, we can start to establish what would base bid be and what would alternates be, but I guess my impression right now is that you all are interested in keeping this project going.
When do you think a good time to bid this would be? Like, so we're in spring now, so it's probably not.
So keeping in mind that we would be doing another SHPO submission, which technically is 30 days. In our last run, it ended up being closer to 2 months. We have that to account for, and then whatever time it takes to reach a decision and repackage it. So, my best guess is we can get through this process in about 3 months. That would put us bidding it again in August of this year, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't a great time to bid the project.
That's what I was wondering, because I know there's good times and bad times.
Yes, yep. So typically we shoot to bid out projects in late winter, early spring. With the market right now, it is very competitive. There's a lot of work out there that's trying to get pushed through. So it is tricky, but as I understand it, I believe there is a cutoff point on this grant that is the end of 26. So I would still, recommend putting it out to bid this year, and just being flexible on the end date. If we pose it to the contractors of, we're not looking for this to be completed until June of 2026, that gives them a lot more freedom to fit in as they can. The good news is, given the nature of the work, a lot of it can be done over the winter months in milder weather. Masonry work can occur, all the way down to, freezing temperatures, so.
Could you include in the breakdown of the scope items? This is just a suggestion for the board if you want it, I guess. I think it would be helpful if you gave a recommendation as to like the health, safety, criticalness of a particular scope item from your perspective.
Certainly.
Just so that way the board, when looking at it, will go, oh, okay, the engineers say this is actually really crucial.
Mhm.
Would be great.
Absolutely.
Like, I would think foundation would be like number one.
Yep, definitely. To me, the foundation work is very important. Occupant comfort is very important, so the windows are, and the repair of the deteriorated masonry is very important to limit that issue. Painting gutters, downspouts, these things I feel like are lower on the list. So I can certainly provide that.
The first existing conditions and proposed work document, did that come with like anything attached with like the money or, estimates about the sections?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I'd have to look at it and verify that.
If you did, it'd be cool if you sent it along so we could just see like what you thought at that time they would cost and then like how.
Yeah, certainly. We can look back to see if that was done or not.
Because you had to come up with something for an original price to submit, right? And so.
Well, so, we were given a budget amount by the village, the grant money available to us. During the construction documentation process, so in the design phase, we had gotten estimates from our consultants on what their, scope of work would cost. It was unfortunate that the bids came in much higher than what was estimated.
But somewhere that like sort of those estimates are somewhere, so we can like sort of get like some gauge about how much in general each section is.
Absolutely.
Look and see what we have on that.
All right. Anybody have anything else about 90 Temple Street? So since you guys are here, and you probably know nothing about it, but we got bids in for our generator projects, which was also a fun deal. You guys know anything about generator projects? I didn't figure
I
you
don't know anything about that one.
I know Tim said we could call him if we needed him.
I talked with Tim and very comfortable explaining that when we get to it. So,
Did they come in okay, or are they over budget too?
there was the second bidder is upset.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, they came in okay, but the second guy's upset. There was a lower bid.
That's all we need the best.
So we'll talk about it.
So does anybody else have any questions about 90 Temple? And you get us that info.
Yep.
We will have our emails and stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
Print copies out for Rusty. Thanks for coming down.
All right.
All right.
Thank
you
you.
all very much.
Have a good evening.
We'll be in touch.
Speeding back, you get paid by the mile.
All right. Let's see, we'll jump down to the discussion on chapter 195 zoning. So, we got a proposed local law from the president. I'll make everybody aware of that. Check it out, see what, they're gonna do with it.
So Mayor, if I can jump
Yeah.
in, I think, obviously they're sitting here. It's just been presented to the board. The board is not being asked, I wouldn't ask the board to discuss and make a decision on anything tonight. This is, to me, informational for you folks. This is the request, it's a proposal. It's not saying, at least from my perspective, of course, you're a legislative body, you can change anything like this that you want. But if this is something you're willing to entertain, I would ask that you at maybe the next meeting, have a discussion at that meeting, whether you want to move forward with some concepts like this, whether it's this specifically tweaks to it or something else entirely, but that addresses the issue that I think the resident has raised. So I'm not sure, Sarah, if you want to say anything at all about this.
No, it's just a starting off point, just somewhere to get us on a path. Because there does continue to be an enforcement issue. So we're just trying to resolve it in some way. This was one way at least we came up with it. It's not the only way, but at least it creates a conversation.
So maybe ask the board if they want to talk about it at the next meeting or they want to put it off to a month from now.
Yeah, when do you guys want us to go back on the, bring it back up again?
Speaking with Mr. Whitmore, he's said that he's not ready to have us do anything on this. So, and he also wants to have some conversations. So we, in one sense, can leave some of this in his court when he says, I'd like you to move along on this a little bit, after he's comfortable with the things he wants to do.
We have a court date, but I haven't gotten confirmation yet, but it's been adjourned for 60 days, I believe. I don't know the exact date. The court hasn't provided that yet, but, so we certainly have time. But we don't want the code enforcement officer to be upset. So at least if you could communicate that we're working on a process here, that would be helpful, I think. And if you have any great ideas, that we didn't think of before we meet again, please don't wait, just reach out through Nate or whomever, just to let us know, because again, it can be whatever you want it to be.
And you can legally meet with, what, three of us? What's the,
Up to 3, right?
without causing an issue.
Yes, you spoke about meeting with some trustees, and yeah, you can meet in groups and stuff as long as we don't have
And
forums.
this document keeps all the power with you, doesn't delegate it to any other board, so everything that would happen is all through the village board. But there are other ways to do it, so if that's not what you want, that can be changed.
There you go.
Do you wanna just set it down for, I do have a purse here somewhere.
It's between the chairs there.
Other side.
Oh, yeah. It's pink, so I
Directly
usually
under
can
you.
find it. Just so we get it on the calendar, like in a month, or,
That's.
you can always take it
You
off.
guys wanna bring it back?
That's
In a
fine.
month? Mr. Whitmore can always ask for it to be delayed,
Yeah,
and you can always choose to push it off further if you also don't want to.
right.
Like Sarah's mainly looking at her calendar. and things.
Yeah,
Right.
I have a daughter getting married, so I gotta like work around that. Oh, yeah.
And I won't be here next meeting. Spring,
When
you
did
guys
you
yet?
meet?
First and third
First and
Mondays.
third Monday?
Maybe I'll be out of town next meeting, so that's,
So it'd be May 19th would be the next meeting day, right? Or not the next meeting day, the second meeting in May.
Right. When we're talking about.
But you won't have had the benefit of talking about it the previous meeting yourself, so do you wanna push off till like into June,
We could do first one of June.
like June 2nd?
Tentative.
That's whatever.
But,
I'm just gonna write it
again,
down.
I just want to talk to all of you and just let you know our intentions.
June
This doesn't
2nd
have to be a
is fine
fight.
with me.
Okay. I'll just write it down then.
I might be out of town then, actually. I'm not a burden on this.
Sunny guy.
That's not a guy.
You can dial in.
Yeah, I'll dial in remotely, there we go.
That's what I'm gonna do next meeting.
Mike, the
Lake
next
Shore.
meeting is the 5th,
Yes,
Cinco de Mayo.
be in my car. Hopefully between here and South Carolina.
the meeting is on Cinco de Mayo.
Aye.
What is going on here?
I know.
Meetings on St. Patrick's Day, meetings on the Cinco de Mayo, all the things we wanna have fun.
I expect you to come with a big.
St. Patrick's Day's gotta be against the law.
That should be good.
May the 5th
It would
be-
be culturally insensitive.
You should have seen, St. Patrick's Day.
It would have been severely offended.
That's,
A leprechaun game.
may the 5th.
So June 2nd, that
Okay.
sounds like everybody's on board. That's a placeholder,
That's a placeholder.
Right.
because there's a date.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cross that off our list, I guess.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I sent emails to pretty much everybody here. So if you just respond, we'll get together and just check. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, thank you all.
Department head reports, we got, obviously they're not here, we did get a submission from Dirk.
Is that the generators?
No,
No, this is for the Legion.
American Legion has had an ongoing problem for at least 7 years in sewer lateral. Lateral will get plugged at least once a year on the village end, prompting sewer department employees to come in and clear the line. In the past 12 to 18 months, these call-ins have become much more frequent, causing the Legion to call in a professional to camera the line and find out the problem. Video was given to me showing multiple holes or breaks in the village-owned portion of the lateral. This video only showed a small part of the hole. I called in another professionally cleaned and camera the whole line. The video shows one 6-inch by 3-inch section of pipe missing, a 2-inch diameter hole in the side of a complete break in a joint near the main. Considering the condition of this lateral, as in other utilities, I have voiced concern about the sewer undermining their property and getting issues resolved.
talking
means-
about cable and
Yeah.
gas and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm currently working with Paul Reeves and Sons and State DOT, Veolia, and NICEAG to coordinate emergency purchase of services. I assume he means like fixing. Yeah,
Is this on their property or on
Underneath
village
the road.
property?
it's under the road, which is the state. road.
Under the road, okay.
It's gonna be quite a substantial hole from what I hear, like 12 to 16 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, excavation of 12 to 16 feet.
So they're looking at stepping the hole in to eliminate potential for cave-in and all that. fun
Yeah.
stuff.
She's planning on starting this Monday, April 28th, which is, next week.
Week, yeah.
Yeah. They said it should last about a week. Yeah, that's what they're shooting for.
Well, they need
And
to
they're going to
detour
allow
traffic.
us to do, they're gonna allow us to do day work, the state will, rather than night work, because of the location of it. But it would be between Church and Page, I believe, would be shut down except for the local traffic.
Right.
So state DOT is looking for detour alternatives for trucks and things that may be utilizing that.
Yeah, let me know, I'll put out a message on everywhere that Front Street's closed
That,
for that lot.
He's hiring contractors to do it, though, right?
Reeves is what they need.
Yeah, so, I mean, it obviously needs to get done. It sounds like it's an emergency. The board should be approving, though, you know, the work to be done.
I haven't seen any kind of budget for this.
Estimate, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I,
When are they starting work?
Next week, 1 week from today.
Probably should have Dirk give you an estimate, you know, a contract. It's certainly exemption from competitive bidding because it's an emergency repair work that affects health, safety issues. Like, we don't have to competitively bid this, but you will still need to authorize it and then identify where in your budget money's coming from, because this is not budgeted for.
Right.
If there's a repair reserve for the work, that's fine. You can either schedule a public hearing on 5 days' notice and then collect it from that repair reserve, or you can do the resolution authorizing the repair reserve without a public hearing, but then you have to pay yourself back over the next 2 years, which could be fine, because you want to keep money in your repair reserve anyway, but.
The way you phrased it, it doesn't seem like he has the price yet, because it seems like he's getting it.
yeah, because I don't think they're quite certain what they're gonna be getting into. And
Yeah, it might just be like, yeah.
Would it be reserved for sewer capital improvement?
No, because it doesn't talk about repair.
capital improvement require a permissive referendum.
Yeah,
Pull from there.
yeah, because and it's not for repairs, it's for major like major projects, not a break.
Right, I
The
think.
repair won't require a referendum because it's emergency, gotta do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we ran into that issue on Green Street, where we had to go through all that despite raw sewage being built in the road.
We've got reserved for sewer equipment, reserved for sewer preventative maintenance, reserved for sewer plant equipment, reserved for sewer capital improvement. Those are kind of our reserves for sewer anyway.
So there has to be another line item somewhere for repair, because none of those.
Well, there might not be. I mean, I never established one specifically for repairs. I mean, they're different than new construction, reconstruction.
What were the reserve funds?
Reserved for sewer equipment, reserved for sewer preventative maintenance, reserved for sewer plant equipment,
Maybe the preventative maintenance one.
Yeah, that's
Because
what
I'd
I
have to
think, do
see the
maintenance.
resolution that established it.
and then reserved for sewer capital improvement.
How much is that? How much money?
So the preventive maintenance has 136,000. The capital improvement one has 387,000.
Well, that's the one we're probably gonna tap into for the cleaning of the digester.
Right.
So this is, like, we own the the sewer pipes, you know, sanitary pipes, and they are ours, and so we're replacing it because it's so old that it broke. So it's like, we're getting new materials to replace something that was ours. So it's our, like,
I'm not,
our pipe
I'm not sure if
material?
that's quite what a capital improvement
Yeah.
is meant to be. I guess I would question, I mean, I trust Dirk when he says it's our portion of the lateral. What's the, I mean, most of the time I thought the village doesn't own any portion of the lateral.
No, he
unless it
said
goes
up to the sidewalk is, there's the way he worded it.
Right, okay,
The
so it really is
sidewalk
our
Wherever
section.
main is to the side, to the middle of the sidewalk usually.
Said it's all that old clay pipe that is
Right.
just,
You probably have this possible issue like this.
right, the way it sounded is the ground around it is just kind of formed to the pipe and it's just disappeared.
It's clay, so it all just goes.
Right. And that's part of the problem, is the stuff coming out of the Legion is catching those breaks, and clogging up the Legion and forcing it back up.
Right.
And the Legion said, according to Dirk, they're gonna replace their line. I'm not sure what time frame they're looking at, but I know there is issues on their side as well, as far as sagging and things of that sort.
Rest of you guys on.
So, yeah, speaking with you earlier, I think that as we're gonna do this, as a discussion earlier, I think someone should reach out before this to the Legion to see if they want to do theirs while we're doing ours, because that could be
They might,
a savings for them while Reeves is there. Oh, yeah, we'll dig yours up too for
Right.
just this much. Somebody should reach out to the Legion for this.
their budget looks like. And the other side I have, question with the Region, and Dirk said every time this happens, it's a grease backup. So, or is there equipment in check as far as grease traps, or is there an excessive amount of grease going through this, catching this stuff and causing this to exacerbate quicker?
I mean, code enforcement might need to be asked to go.
I didn't know if code or health department would be the grease
Yeah,
trap.
that's true. One or the other, talk to codes.
Yeah.
Cause I know, I don't know if we can just legally go in, the health department has access.
So, but for purposes of like authorizing this, you don't have a quote, you gotta get a quote, right? You probably should have a special meeting later this week just for this one purpose, because it's gotta be done, but you need to know the money before you authorize hiring somebody, and then where's the money coming from?
I mean, should the Legion be allowed to put grease in that sewer line? I mean, that
Technically,
doesn't seem
it
right.
goes against common sense, but I don't know what they're doing in there, I've never
I
been
mean,
in there.
That's why Ron has
Same as
suggested the
like a
Department of
restaurant.
Health may need to be contacted.
Yeah,
Right, I mean, the grease trap may be outdated, they may not have one, I have no idea. But I mean, something's allowing a good amount of grease to go through this line.
yeah,
So,
doesn't seem right.
good news or bad news. We already have scheduled a special meeting Wednesday at 6 PM to meet with the EMS folks
This week,
this week,
Oh.
which
I didn't know this.
happens to be, which, well, we set it up 3 months ago. whenever we
Okay.
met
It
with
was
them.
one of our regular.
So it happens to already be a board meeting, even though we technically don't have to take action on
It's on your calendar?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right, yeah, I just noticed it too. So I guess we could, if we get the quote, we could do that there.
We got 2 days to get the quote, so we're gonna have enough time.
But they want to start in a week, so
Yeah, well,
we're giving us a quote in 2 days.
And it might be a time and materials quote, right? They might not give you a definite, this much money, it's just, we'll do it on an hourly rate basis for this much.
Right.
And that's fine, that's allowable.
So I'm going back to, I'm just gonna finish up my thing. I wanted us to contact the Legion just because it's the correct thing to do. I'm a little something about sending code or health department into the Legion. We're not getting along with them very much right now. I'd hate to send the high-end, checking everything out guys in there right now. I don't mean if you had to do it and it was in terrible shape or you had to, but I'm not real keen on going to war with the Legion over the next little thing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I agree. We have pipes like this all over town, not just in that
It's every restaurant, it's everywhere.
location. Yeah, like the pipes that are very old, they're 100 years old, and it's not anybody's fault currently that, like, we're just using pipes regular, and they're just too old to keep up with it. We haven't replaced any of these laterals in forever.
I mean, they are having dinners all the time where they're charging the public for their meals. I mean, they're acting like a restaurant.
I mean,
I would think the health department would have every right.
the health department does have to go on minimally once a year, and they usually do a spot
I
inspection.
mean, if there's a grease problem,
They're not having dinners all the time. There might be a fireman's banquet there once every 2 months. They don't have dinners over and over and over in there. That's just not what they're doing.
Well, not to get distracted, but,
Yeah.
you know, the issue is the lateral needs fixed.
That's what we're doing.
That's an ancillary issue, and maybe it's appropriate to discuss at another board meeting.
And I was just trying to help them with their piece.
I think it's a good idea.
So somebody should reach out to them.
So I guess we'll bring this up Wednesday, like first thing, and hopefully we'll have a quote and we can approve it. We're gonna have to figure out between now and Wednesday which of these funds it comes out of.
could we possibly have Dirk come?
Contact
Yeah, we
person.
can ask them to.
Step foot in that building. I have.
Steve DeVarney would be one,
The guy with the dark hair.
and Steve Tiffany would be one. Trying to remember who the commander is now. Is it Kenny Patterson?
I think it is Kevin.
Yeah, it seems like it.
I have the luxury of not knowing who any of these people are.
I mean, I would do it, except I don't have the devices to do it very easily. I just have to try to find somebody on a telephone.
Dirk is in contact with them pretty often.
And when we do this, it's more of a courtesy. They're not gonna be able to make a decision on, oh yeah, we're gonna spend $10,000-$20,000 or whatever we're gonna spend. I'm just saying, but we should still do it. So that they can,
Yeah, that should be notified.
Dirk, I think Dirk can be the one. He's already been talking to them.
that would be good. Somebody has to get ahold of Dirk and ask Dirk to do that.
I'll get a hold of him. He's a pretty non-combative person, so
Right.
shouldn't be too controversial, I would imagine.
So,
And
are you gonna let me know when you need a quote and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
this sewer stuff is a nightmare because those sewer lines are way deep. This is not a good deal.
No. Yeah, it's at 12, 8, 16 feet.
Yeah, so, North Avenue, they're just deep everywhere in
They are.
places because of they gotta go downhill. The village is this, and they're deep. They're real deep some places.
15 foot deep in the history report. They're like lower than other communities.
I know mine's like 14 foot deep. I thought I was gonna hit it when I put fence in. And Tracy said, pull your vent cap off and drop a tape measure. I'm like, I lost the tape measure, man.
Okay.
It's got its own pole in and it just collapses.
Yeah.
Oh, get a grant to redo all the laterals. Bring them up, some pump stations in.
Might as well repave all the roads while you're at it.
This is the $20-30 million to separate the storm and the sewer and on and on and on, but forget that. Let's talk about something else.
All those grants disappeared. The brick and the FMA
Yeah,
disappeared.
okay, so this will come back on Wednesday. And reminder, we have a meeting Wednesday with the EMS folks,
Thanks for timing us.
6 o'clock.
So
6 to
who's
8.
gonna be on first, Dirk or?
Dirk, because this should take 2 minutes. This is the quote. Well, give them the approval of that. Go from there. Other than that, I haven't heard from any, well, I guess we have the Fred thing. So, there's a grant opportunity that came out, like the day after our last meeting, which was only 2 weeks ago, for, I got it here, New York State Office of the Parks and Recreation Historic Preservation announced the Municipal Parks and Recreation Grant Program. So they will fund, and it's a 90%, 10%. So they fund 90% with a 10% local match of any park improvement if you want it. So when it came out, Brittany from Tioga County Economic Planning and Development called me and said, hey, you guys want to apply for this? Originally, she was trying to apply for multiple municipalities, like within the county, all as one application, and they told her that they can't do that. That each municipality has to apply on their own if they want to be in it. So I talked to Fred, and we thought it would be good to apply for, eventually, we're gonna have to replace the filter at the pool, which is a big purchase. New York State could possibly pay 90% of that. That would be helpful for our budget. And then talking with him, there's a couple of parks that we neglect. One being the Halsted Park, that, could probably use some new playground equipment. And then the Hyde Park, remember they came last year complaining about the slide and that kind of stuff? So if we get some new playground equipment paid 90% by the state, 10% by us. Kicker is, like every state program we've ever had, we got the email about it 2 weeks ago, and the package is due May 2nd.
Every time.
And it requires us to pass a resolution to go with the package that says that we're gonna, apply. So Brittany sent me the resolution. It doesn't have good numbers in it because it has the max. I can't tell you what our number is. So we had to have bids on that work as far as the filter, and then I know you got some prices on the playground equipment.
Well, there are certain things they will cover and other things that they won't.
They'll cover most anything in a park. So the resolution reads that, that we're gonna apply for this, it's capped at $1 million, requires a 10% match. And it specifically lists out, not to exceed this, to fund improvement projects at Marvin Park, Draper Park, Halsted Park, and Hyde Park.
We have cemetery. It's technically a park.
We could try, but right now, nothing's in the application for the cemetery. Because Glenda's been working on the application with Brittany to get it, because it's gotta be sent in next week.
Well, it does reference the 2013 comprehensive plan. The cemetery was involved in that.
The application materials itself, and I think what Mike is saying is like the application package that's been put together doesn't have anything actually specific for a park. And then I guess not knowing the grant details itself, Mike said it might cover anything to do with the park. That's probably why nobody thought of the cemetery, because the cemetery is not typically thought of as like.
Well, but it is.
It is,
like,
it's a park.
Well, no, I understand that, but like playground equipment, those types of things.
That might be disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's a whole other question, but.
Yeah, but I mean, something that might be able to be covered at the cemetery is that gazebo that needs a new roof and.
Yeah, it could, although we have to get it in there like in the next, tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we can request this, we are capped at their 900,000, but we don't have to necessarily use all that, or do we get
Right, so
kind of blacklisted if we don't?
So you only request like what you submit the amounts for. So the grant will cover up to $1 million per application.
So we need some hard numbers. Right.
That's what Mike said, that numbers have been gotten, he just doesn't know what the number is, and doing this way lets more scope be added to it between now and when the application actually gets submitted, and this is all to replace existing stuff.
Correct, yes.
Right, it's not new things.
It's only a 10%.
That's right.
Then 600 and 160.
Right.
What would it fund in the courthouse square park?
Anything you can think of there, probably nothing really. I think they just listed the parks, but.
Well, it's not really all of our parks.
Cause there's nothing they're doing in Draper Park.
Bowling Park, yeah.
Right. So I guess we could reword it to list all of our parks.
We didn't list every park, we just listed some of the parks.
Yeah, it just says including.
And I would take off maybe Draper, in this list, I would take off Draper Park, cause right now we have nothing in there. Or Draper.
I guess it doesn't even say Draper Park's included.
Not on this particular whereas sheet, does it?
Yeah.
Under the resolve, it does.
Yeah,
Resolve.
the second, third, whereas.
And the resolve.
With your special meeting on Wednesday, Mike, you could probably throw this in there too and just get confirmation. Scenario board meeting.
Yeah.
Well, the cemetery could be included with anything.
Yeah, we can ask
Yeah.
Randy about that, I suppose.
If there's any other stuff,
I mean, I would include the cemetery in it.
it's just Mike, to Mike's point, you have to get the pricing on it by the time of the deadline.
Which is May 2nd. And by the way, Glenda's going on vacation or already went on vacation.
So that had to go into competitive too.
No, this is apparently just quotes and estimates. Like this is not approval of anything
No.
other than just an application that includes a really big scope.
Does it take a year?
Oh, yeah, it'll be a year. Like, so we put it in May 2nd, and then by the time they award it, it's about a year from now when we actually would get the grant, if we get it.
But this is a state one, right?
Yeah.
You will have to do environmental review of it at the time that you actually get awarded the grant and then sign the grant agreement.
And then with the scope, like let's say we apply for the pool filter thing, which that's the plan. I think Johnson's gives us a price on a pool filter for the grant. When we get the grant, we would have to competitively bid the pool filter and see if it comes in.
Just a ballpark.
Right. This is just to say, hey, we need
Because
$200,000.
You know everything's gonna go up.
So this
Well, whatever
resolution
we
is just-
put in for, we gotta remember, we've gotta come up with 10% of that.
Right. But
We gotta keep that in mind.
it's stuff like the pool filter, eventually we're gonna have to come up with 100% of that. if we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
do it, you know what I mean?
This 10% would be that 100%. Might as well get other things for free.
Right.
What else we got in that pool pump house that we need, besides just a filter?
Probably.
Because we need it all.
The
So I
base-
know, I think you have them quote like the filter and some of the piping and stuff like that.
The base underneath the filter is about to break down and then we lose the filter.
Right. It's a sand filter right now.
Yeah.
So I want to see, you have quote a different kind of filter. And like changing the system over, to something a little more maintainable.
Pumps in there, pumps too, and just everything.
It seemed like Fred had mentioned the pump was pretty close to the end of its life cycle.
Right.
Yeah, so.
That's part of the filter and all that kind of stuff. Questions asked Fred though, what he specifically got a quote on. Like the grant is just gonna be X number of dollars to repair the pump, filter, or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I would be more comfortable Wednesday if we had a hard figure, it's 900,000 or 400,000 is a big difference.
Right.
Well, once it's awarded, can we then decide how much we actually wanna use?
Yes.
I mean, just because we're applying, we're not stuck with that number.
Correct, yeah, this is just the application.
Right.
So what's
So
smart?
say they give us 400,000 and we only wanna spend 200, we say, we're only gonna do 200.
This will put us into a blacklist, so this situation like you did with the cemetery, right, we won't use the full grant.
Not usually, as long as you're upfront with it, don't take 100 years.
I just don't want to be spanked again the way we've done in the past.
No, I know.
Well, we could ask for $1 million for Marvin Park with the swimming pool. We could ask for improvements to the bandstand, or not the bandstand, but the grandstand, and then fair guys want new bleachers in front of that. I mean, we could ask for a whole bunch of things here. But what's smart to ask for? What's too much? What puts us in contention? What takes us out? That kind of stuff.
The issue is the time. It's very short.
Yeah.
So Brittany did say that we do stand a decent chance of actually getting it. Because of disadvantaged community, the way the state works is the state has to award at least 40% of the money to disadvantaged communities.
It needs to be poor in this.
Right. We do have a checkbox in our favor, so that's a good thing.
But it says that it's capped at $1 million.
Right.
Are we gonna ask for $1 million?
So you only ask for whatever you have quotes for.
Or you have quotes for?
Right.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We don't have time for that crap. You know?
Had they given us 2 or 3 months to put it together.
Then we could have put it off till the last second and still not been ready, but at least we'd have done it.
So, here's this, I mean, we can either tweak the thing and pass the resolution so it can go in the packet, or we can talk about it on Wednesday.
Wednesday put a huge strain on the timeline.
I don't think so.
So who's gonna
2
do it
days.
first? Brittany or Glenda, who's gonna do it?
So Glenda's doing it with the help of Brittany,
But she's going away pretty soon here.
right,
How soon?
When should we?
like, I don't remember, this week, I think.
So let's take some action tonight and see if we can get her to do some of this stuff before that.
Do we wanna add more parks in the list? Cause all we did was list parks, we can list more.
Oh, that's it, we
Yeah.
just list at the parks, we're not telling what we're gonna do in the parks. And that's easy.
Let's add the cemetery for sure, and,
Yeah.
and if, you know, if there's nothing that gets quoted to, you know, be
Right.
built there, then we can remove it.
Draper Park's already in there with nothing. You know, there's nothing in
We
there.
can't find it on our piece of paper, but I believe that it's there.
It's on the one I just printed out.
Oh, brand new.
Oh.
That's good,
You got a different one, and this one's.
Okay,
that's fine.
okay. All right,
She's not crazy.
Okay.
Not on ours.
yeah, it gives the list of the places a couple times.
Right.
Well, then let's add some
Yeah, I
parks.
would include
So we
that.
can add parks, or I wonder if we could make it more generic and say village parks or something.
I don't know. They might want it specified.
Well, just make a bunch of them. Let's say,
So what is
let's
that?
say them exactly.
Put them all on.
And Evergreen Cemetery.
We have some sort of like base quotes for stuff in Draper Park anyway, for like a kayak access.
That's
and
true, from the DRI.
Yeah.
The existing stuff, or?
No,
Those might be free.
yeah, I don't think I wanna use those numbers.
So we're gonna add Evergreen and Draper, like you said, Draper's in there now, Evergreen and Draper.
And Bolin,
And Boland, okay.
can anybody think of any other parks around the?
The cemetery.
That's Evergreen.
Yeah,
Oh,
Evergreen.
Do they don't have a courthouse, what's courthouse?
Yeah, it's there, it's on ours.
Yeah, it's on ours. Livingston ball fields are not on there, and Hyde Park is.
Our parks there, that's a little,
Qualify as a park?
what's that?
Technically it is.
We got the boat launch, is that a park? I mean, I'm not be stretching, but
That's not a park.
park there to put your boat in.
And I don't think that the Riverwalk is a park. In our code, it's listed, there's 5 or 6 parks that are listed, and that's all that's listed there.
Okay. So maybe we should match whatever's in our code. Which I know is
Owego
Evergreen.
Park.
Oh,
Yeah.
crap.
Right.
Owego Park is the one next to the barbecue.
Other end.
That's Mayor's Park.
It's officially a
Wow.
Mayor's
Owego Park.
Who renamed it?
Somebody calls it Mayor's Park, for whatever reason.
But yeah, they
It's
got
like people
Draper.
call them the moose lot
Right.
behind the movie theater. Like,
Right.
only old people know what that means. Yeah.
So with those amendments, right, this thing just says it's capped at $1 million, doesn't mean we're applying for that. We're applying for whatever we submit. And then,
Should you delegate authority to Fred to identify specific items in the application? Because, you know, basically, there's other stuff that might get added that's not gonna come to you folks.
True.
And there's not time to have a meeting.
true. Yeah, I'll be fine with that.
Okay, you ready? Marvin, Draper, Boland, Thompson Memorial Park. I don't know what that is right off the top of my head.
Where's that?
Owego Park, parentheses, Mayor's Park, Woodlawn Park, that's the Halsted Park, oh, it's called Woodlawn Park. David Livingston, that's the whole creek, the Teen League in the Creek, Courthouse, Hyde, and Evergreen, those are all our parks. I don't know what Thompson is off the top of my head.
I don't know what Thompson is.
Speaking of that, recognition that we lost a one of our citizens who used to be a village trustee, Tommy Thompson, just passed away here last week.
Oh.
So a little, whatever we say about these things, when we lose somebody.
So,
Okay, that's enough.
shall we pass this with those modifications, and we're gonna match what's in the code book for parks?
Getting authority to
And delegate authority to Fred to
identify specific
Yeah.
projects for.
in those parks.
Yeah, within those parks as he reasonably deems necessary and appropriate.
Yeah.
We need a motion for that?
A second, right?
We need a
We already
motion for
have
that? Do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
All right, I'll make that motion, what you said.
Second.
Any other discussion?
We have like people for grants. That's like Terry, Fran, and I. So maybe we could like also help Fred
Sure you could.
pick like whatever,
Feel free.
pick some of the like lists of like the stuff in the parks and say like these are all the old project possibilities that we've had.
This
Sure,
motion
I'm sure.
gives him the authority, you go right ahead and tell him that you wanna help him.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Could use some improvement there.
There's a basketball hoop in there next to the park.
Yeah, I think so.
Designate the police station a park and throw some money. in it.
Right.
I like it.
Or my house is a park.
Yeah, all right. I got one in my yard. I'm mowing it. I'm at Rose. All right, so we got a motion and a second to at least pass this resolution with those edits. And work with Fred to prepare the actual, application package. Fred and Glenda. I'm ready.
He'll be so pleased.
Well, they're already working on it. We'll vote on that. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yeah.
And yes. Okay, I think that's everything from the department head.
Yeah, we got the memo from Fred, right? It's like a honey-do list, or really a honey-did list.
It's that list.
You got it.
I just wanna add to that, I spoke to Fred. I spoke to Fred about the lights on Lackawanna, they're out again. So he, called the people who fixed it last time, he hasn't heard back from them. It goes through a process of turning into a disco over there, blinking, and then now it's all off. That whole ramp leading on is totally out. He said it might be a problem with the mice eating the wires, or maybe there's even bigger mice taking the wires to replacements. I don't know. But,
That could be an issue.
so he's looking into that. I do believe we have our parade for the opening day is this Saturday.
I think we'll get, what, 26th?
Yeah.
Saturday.
You're talking about Little League.
Little League, yeah.
It wasn't that wet out that day. They could have walked.
Well, I requested the Kubota from Fred, so if anybody wanna ride with me, meet me down there.
Oh, I got your signs in to pick them up.
Oh, yeah, we're not at Pickles anymore.
Right. I'll stop there Friday.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. That's all I got to throw on the tail end of that.
Communication wise, we got a communication from the Office of Cannabis Management. Brian Haynes has applied for a cannabis retail dispensary license at 119 North Avenue.
Where is 119?
Ernesto's restaurant.
Okay,
Right in the heart of town.
So
across from Rabbit.
this, like a liquor license, we don't necessarily approve or deny this, but if we wanted to object this, we have 30 days from the date that we got it to send an objection.
And one of our
It's a
potential
location.
objections, not that we wanna do it necessarily, is location.
Correct.
Right in the heart of the, yeah, that's,
Well, it has their own parking lot.
So this gentleman, Mike has met him,
Yeah,
I've met him.
a couple of times.
and he's, I'm gonna give my opinion, we're going to be lucky, if we haven't already talked about this, that this is the gentleman that got the license from us.
I agree.
He's an upright fella. Anyways, lots to be said there. And he was gonna, when he originally got the license, it was for where the taco place was on Front Street. And that, aside from the fact that that was not something that we, whoever the we is, thought was a good place to have it right downtown on River Row. He also didn't think that was a good place to have it, even though he had originally got the license for that location. He had to have a location that doesn't have parking, doesn't have other things, and he doesn't want to be right downtown like that. And then he went through our whole village and looked at properties, consulted with folks, and
What about that place right next to, in the parking lot where Price Chopper is?
that was the first place looked at, and that was not possible. So anyway, he looked at a number of places. It was not easy, and this place was recommended to him, and he looked at this place, and this looked like a decent location for him. It is right downtown. I would prefer that bank place at Price Shop would have been perfect. I would prefer something on a main road that's not right in town, maybe on the edge or something, but there just isn't anything. Anyway, some people think whatever ways they think. I don't think it should be on Lake Street or on River Road, on Front Street. I don't think that's where it should be. So this is not, of the possible places, this is not the worst place.
My only question is proximity to that Presbyterian church. Does that fall within the footage by state law?
The state won't issue a license for it if it's that close. And they measure it from like door
Door
to
to door.
church too.
Right, it's really weird. It's like the front door of the church to
Yeah.
the front door of the place.
Yeah, so
I know
looks
it's-
can be.
And as much as it seems like it should be, it's 200 feet. It's not very much. I'm just saying it's pretty close. It's not 500 feet or 1,000 feet. It's 200 feet.
And it's a
Oh,
weird
where's
measure.
the footage? I
But,
just want to make sure we're not wasting this guy's time if it is indeed too close.
No, he'd be wasting.
He's wasting his time. This is up to him.
Yeah, it's just.
We're not approving this. He's got to figure out.
You don't have to take any action on this if you don't want to. You don't have to send any letter at all.
Right.
And it's like a liquor license, like he's already applied for it. They're notifying us that he applied for it.
So the question is, do we, as a group or anybody sitting here, have a problem with this?
I think it sounds like a good location.
Well, I get my next question, is the art park definitely done, or will that mess with proximity to that if we put that in after the fact?
So I don't know in the state law if parks are in the thing.
Thought it was parks, schools, churches. I mean, I'm not sure precisely, but I just don't want to bite ourselves in the ass if we can indeed put a park in there.
It changed a bunch.
It's been a little while. since
Because I know like, one of the municipalities did a local law to include parks.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if parks is too broad.
My guess on
It
that
has
would
to be a
be,
community center.
you would know, but my guess on that would be, is if he puts his place in, or gets his approval for his place, because it's not just putting it in, it's starting a certain process, and there is no park there, then he's grandfathered in or whatever, but we can still put a park there. Right. He just doesn't have to not do it or move. He would be protected, he'd already had it there, we can put a park at a church and surround him with them, and he doesn't have to go
Right,
because he's
yeah,
there.
my biggest question, are we putting a park in our park, or is it no longer suitable for that?
I mean, it could be eventually.
I mean, I just don't know what kind of precedent we would show if we put a kid's park next to a CBD drug, whatever the hell we sell. I mean, just something to look for down the road. I mean, I don't care one way or the other. I mean, it's legal, the guys like to sell it in the village, but we might be shooting ourselves in the foot down the road. We have to.
I mean, that could be the comment. It's not shooting yourself in the foot, but like all you're doing is expressing any opinions or concerns that you have about the location being used. And so if your statement is there's a location commonly known as the pit, but probably put the actual address in, that
Future
is-
North Avenue Park.
Yeah, a potential candidate for a park that has been constant, continual discussions since 2019, 18, about turning it into one. There's an intention of doing that. It's just factually, this is what we're doing. And then, I mean, the state will take that into consideration. Like you don't have the ability to just say, no, you can't do this here. You have to give like some reasons.
Because last I knew, the park had bad core samples and we were kind of screwed.
Right.
I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
it's
still
got
the
some
case,
little bit of
or-
contamination. It could be cleaned up. We just didn't have money with the DRI to clean it up.
I would want to make sure that we get our tax money from it, from the sales. And if we, write a letter to the town of Owego and ask them to forgo their cut, could we, they do.
Mike and I can give you the answer to that.
I think being opted out, I don't think they get a cut.
No, they don't, unless they opt in.
Technically, they can
Well,
still,
they're gonna opt in the second they realize they're not getting a cut.
they, apparently from the training sessions, I asked about it and they said what we can do is get them to sign a letter that says they would forgo because they don't want they opted out and they didn't want it in their area. And so we would just ask them to not take the half of the money away from us.
Mike and I have spoken to the powers in the town. They have no intention of giving up their half of the money.
Why would they?
Yeah, why would they?
Yeah, but I don't know if they get the half the money.
Well, if they don't get it, it doesn't matter, but they have no intention of giving it up voluntarily.
But they can just as easily opt in once they realize we're getting.
You brought that point up
Stop that.
numbers of times. You brought up that point about sending a letter, trying to get them to do it. They're not gonna do it.
And I know this individual would, I don't want to say rather, but there's more opportunities to put one of these places in town. The town is opted out. As far as real estate locations, far more in the town.
So,
Well, the county collects the tax money, right? And then divvies it up.
The county gets 1% of it and then the municipality gets 3%. But in our case, we'd have to divide it in half and split it with the town.
Only if they opt in.
No.
once again, it doesn't matter whether we know that or not.
Not.
The law is the law on that. If they opt out and we get it all, then we do. If they don't, we get one, then we do. I'm just telling you, this idea that if it turns out one way, they're not going to give it up if it turns out one way. So we're having a discussion here that's
Irrelevant.
doesn't go anywhere. Yeah.
No matter what letter we write them, they're not gonna give up free money.
Now-
And you're just putting a hose on your back, hey, they're allowing this, we're gonna get. There's gonna be a change in leadership there pretty soon. So we're gonna have a little bit-
Right.
So I have an opinion on this tough crap plan, which is, I think that this gentleman, in all the dealings that he's had with us, is being very reasonable with the village and very reasonable with stuff. We could try and he's probably already bought this place by doing this. We could try and fuss about it. If we do that, he gets to then pick another place. And it seems like of all the places he could pick, this is not the worst one. I'm just concerned, that, so what if he says, okay, then I'll do it over here. And we don't like that. I'm just saying, this is not a bad place.
Technically in our code, it's allowed anywhere downtown. Or in business or higher zone.
And we kind of didn't want it smack dab downtown walking around.
And it will lock out, I think it's 1,000 feet, like to the next dispensary, radius, I think it is.
I think it might be 2,000, Mike, I'm not sure. 2,000 feet maybe?
It goes on like size of town, apparently.
Yeah, it's
Like Binghamton can have closer together than we could have.
Binghamton's only got 2 right now, so, right? Not like people are getting licenses all over.
So anyway, Ron, I'm not saying that there aren't some degree of concern about what the things you just said. I'm just saying
I'm just saying, I don't care about the business owner, I care about the residents.
about yeah, absolutely, about if we want to park
I would
there.
love the tax dollars, and that's fine if it goes there, but we had plans for a park, and if we have code that says we can't. Like, I don't know what code we can have a bar within certain, and I believe this will follow the rule of the bars, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, it's very
It-
similar.
I think it's gonna do that, but, well, once again, we could still, it wouldn't be the best optic, but we could still have the park there.
There is
if we
no
chose.
ideal place.
Yeah. And actually, the place we loved at the, whoever loved at the Price Chopper is right across from Marvin Park, so that's not wonderful in that respect either.
And I think the state law took parks out of the thing. It's like.
I don't think parks is in, I think churches and schools are in there.
Right, yeah.
Community
It's a park design,
facilities
but
where like, the majority of the activities are.
It works recreation, like the Boys and Girls Club would be in there, but not a park.
A coal mine, places where children go, a coal mine would be there.
Yeah, when you looked at the law that actually got passed, they were really weird.
They're making cotton candy flavored everything now, so.
Because I know,
A lot of stuff lately on how many kids are going to hospitals for the gummies. I mean,
That was my fear as a teacher, because you can't tell the difference without the packaging.
one of the municipalities, like, wrote a local law to try and cover parks, but I don't know if they ever determined if it was valid or not.
Might have been adopted, but who knows if anyone's challenged it.
Right.
so to get past that or not, do we have any desire to contact the state and say we object to this location?
That's something we need to vote on?
No,
No, I mean,
just if somebody feels strongly about it, then they need to say it and push it.
They're just making us aware that you
Yeah.
have a license.
right. Eventually, yeah, we might put a park there. But we have to find money to do that. It's probably gonna be way down the road.
We ain't got any money.
Can't clean it out till you clean it up.
Where are we going?
More communications. We got a letter, which I was gonna bring this up anyway, that the CESA contract is ending in August.
Oh my lord, didn't we just go?
Renegotiate.
Did you just do that one?
Yeah, that was the PDA.
Oh, no, I was on the CSEA one.
Okay, the you
Right
did.
A
before,
couple of years ago,
yeah.
That's what drove me off.
So-
What were your contracts?
No, 3 maybe. So we're gonna need couple people to negotiate the CESA contract, and we probably should figure out what's the PBA one.
That's coming up.
Usually they're kind of
Next,
sync.
that'll be coming up soon, because it's 3 year, and we've already gone 2 years just about, so. Ron, were you on the CSEA last time?
So we gotta,
I'd be willing to do that again. You want to do that?
Yeah, I did that one.
we gotta start this process, because it doesn't, actually, me and Nikki, we were starting to work on the budget, like payroll numbers, and we noticed that it ended at the end of this fiscal year, so August. CESA is easier than PBA, but still
Yeah.
takes a couple of months to get it done.
Is that all right with the rest of you? I mean, it's no great shake that. I mean,
Go for it.
oh, I really want to do that. That's great fun to be fighting with.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to do that.
So we'll have to start having meetings. So
Okay.
2 guys.
And you, yeah.
Me,
Who's the president now of the union?
That's a real good question.
Not the one we had before.
I don't know who the president is right now.
Let's figure that out.
Yep.
We got a notice from the Tug County Historical Society Museum. And on Saturday, May 10th, from 6 to 8, they're gonna have a grand reopening, and they invited us. I can't go because I'm in Florida, so if anybody else wants to go, for us.
Price is not free.
Oh, it's not free, Connie says.
Saturday, May 10th?
Yeah.
Museum grand reopening.
Where,
What time?
I don't say price.
Time?
6 to 8.
I gotta work.
So it's something
It's a
that's
grand reopening fundraiser.
Oh. $50.
it's $50 to go, and we're invited to come and give them $50 or.
And they expect you to spend more.
No problem. That's how they get you.
All right.
We're open till 8 o'clock.
Yes, my wife.
There you go. Just send them a check instead.
They're trying to raise money for their addition on the rear of the building. remember I said this is a fundraiser, so remember to bring your wallets, checkbooks, credit cards.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a goal.
Bitcoin.
So anyway. So I go. Get the RSVP by May 8th.
So the village is gonna pay for that?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
We also got, I have no idea what this is, but it was on my chair when I got here. Join us April 25th at 6 McMaster Street, Suite 2, where that is. Tioga County Child Advisory Center, Advisory Center Open House. April
Say the
25th,
number again.
Where is it?
6 McMaster.
6 McMaster, Suite 2.
That building on the corner?
April 25th at 2 p.m.
Huh.
So, like I said, I was just throwing on my chair when I got here, so. And I think that's Friday.
Yeah, that's right.
Friday at 2. And we had our ribbon cutting at the skate park, and we got a little fancy certificate thing from Nick Langworthy.
How'd that go, Charles? Was that
Excellent.
Great.
It's that big building down by the, Owego aggregate. The one on the corner, Beverly Longwood.
Oh, where Partners used to be, insurance guy.
Oh, yeah, because McMaster goes across the tracks, yeah.
Yes, right on the middle.
Yeah, I think Partners is still there.
Oh, the old train station?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know what the program is, I haven't heard of it.
So there's one direct, we got the clothing place and there's one directly across with the insurance agency and all that.
Old train,
Yeah.
whatever. It's a very long
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, it used to be a train station.
And old business, and these are on here because people keep repeatedly asking me about them. Traffic light, that has been a hot topic lately,
It has or has not?
has,
Oh, good.
about the lack of us doing anything about it. Jake brake signs, Betsy emailed us again last week asking about them.
Yeah, so, Rusty and I talked about, what the possible signs would say. So, we thought the brake retarders prohibited.
That is one sign I've seen in communities. Brake, because you can't say Jake breaks against the law, or whatever. Brake retarder,
Can't say that.
what's that?
Can't use that.
Yeah, brake retarders prohibited. I don't know if we can put, that's a thought. But can we put on a sign like that, a number so that it just gets somebody's attention, $250 fine? Can you put something like that on a sign? Can't put that.
I mean, unless it's in the code, that's.
Well, I think it is.
You gotta repeat the actual language of the code for a fine like that. Then if you ever change the fine, you gotta swap out your sign.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to be DOT compliant. Have you talked to Brad? I mean,
No, we haven't talked to any, we haven't talked to any New York State or anybody to know what you can put up.
I would think they'd have to be compliant with state regulations on about traffic control signs. So, I mean, I would suggest talking with Fred, because this should be pretty easy.
I'm going to assume that brake retarders prohibited is legal because I saw it on the road in towns.
I thought the wording of the sign was already approved and you just needed to load and, find out the locations you can put them up.
We haven't, no one had picked the wording of the sign yet. Do you remember that?
I thought there was, the signs were approved to be put up. It was just a matter of where to put them up. Okay, then I misheard, misthought.
I don't know if Jake breaks the actual word or if it's a slang term for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
These
think it's an
compression brakes in the law.
Right, it's compression brake, I think is what they're really called.
And I agree with Rusty, I've seen the brake retarders prohibited.
Or compression brakes
Air
prohibited.
compression brakes or something like that.
Yeah, so we thought that like having having it be simplified with those, a few words would be good. And if possible, to put the fine in there. But like, 3-inch ladders is like as little as you can see. So maybe we want to just keep
It
it.
isn't gonna be 3-inch letters if you're a sign person, it's gonna be great big letters. And another piece of that is, when you say something like that, compression brakes prohibited, yeah, I'm just saying, that somebody's driving by, yeah, that doesn't really get their attention.
Maybe
It's like the no parking signs, and you put a tow truck there and you say tow away zone, that gets their attention. But you say no parking, that doesn't get their attention.
Well, can you say the compression brakes are illegal?
No, they're legal in emergency situations.
Yeah.
That's why they say prohibited.
Well, then they shouldn't even, I mean,
That-
they're allowed, so it's,
That has to be street legal because it's in villages around.
I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I mean, this, like, there
Yeah.
are laws about, DOT and FHA regulate signs. Fred should be asked to identify potential signs that comply with FHA, DOT regulations, and then show them to you for you to pick from.
And our signs happen to be going on a state route, so I assume they're gonna definitely have to be DOT approved.
And then the next, you're talking about location and this and that, but the next deal is, we want them here and here and here and here. What are all the rules? Where do they have to be? How far from the street do they have to be? What kind of pole do they have to be on? There's all kinds of rules on the state
I
highway.
mean, we can't just stick them on the underpass.
Yeah.
Because that would be a perfect spot.
I mean, my recommendation would be work with Fred on all
Yeah.
this. He should.
The state needs to tell us the rules and regulations through Fred or Mark.
So it's technically the non-emergency use of compression release engine brakes are prohibited.
Well, now you are 3-inch letters.
So you
That's
just wanna
not,
simplify it, like, no,
what do you read, the law or you read?
yeah, it's the law.
Say it again?
Non-emergency use of compression release brakes prohibited.
All right, so we can figure this out offline, but this is an issue because we've had it on the agenda for, we passed it
Long time.
a year ago.
It was brought up when I was on the board last time.
2 years ago.
We passed the law at least in that time, we're just waiting on getting the.
And I get emails every week about it. Same as the
Okay.
traffic light, which is blinking, which, yes, we say we need to adjust the parking, but I get comments and messages and every single week about it.
Because there's a whole village full of people that have an opinion about that light.
And the same as chickens, because it's getting warmer and people have chickens. And we said for the last 3 years, we've been going to pass a chicken law.
And we're gonna have trouble with that too, because we're gonna pass the llamas and elephants law, and we're gonna pass a looser law, but we're gonna have trouble with
Well,
the
now
chicken.
they're gonna have the price of the eggs,
We can
having chickens.
temporarily put out cones in the parking spaces where we don't want people parking for right now. If that's the,
You can, but I see people moving them really quickly.
I don't care what you do, but we gotta start closing some of this stuff out, is what I'm getting at. Like,
You're right.
these 3 things have been going on for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, well, one thing that needs to be done with the chicken, chicken is what's allowed as far as the number of chickens per property or per size of property.
If we're going to allow chickens, then we have to figure all that out, and that will be the piece that people will object to and wanna,
Yeah, well, one
Yeah.
of the citizens that is complaining about the chickens, a neighboring property has a huge number, and they are in the business of selling eggs in a residential area.
so
They have a business in a residential area.
that's a whole different ballgame when we make the animal law about somebody having a business and selling a product. I'm just saying, that's gonna be a different thing.
Where these eggs in again?
Over on south side.
All right, so let's move on to so we have our generators. Should we talk about them?
So they're open bids, whatever that was. And you'll see there's 2 resolutions awarding the project to each of the areas. There was a letter received from the second lowest bidder who has objected to the village awarding to the lowest bidder on account of irregularity in the bid package that was submitted by the lowest bidder. Irregularity relates to the lowest bidder's omission of a certification from the Department of Labor. I forget exactly what it was. It's basically a certification that they have some license or approval from the Department of Labor. That was noted when the bid package was opened. This contractor was, like, told, hey, you didn't submit that paperwork. They then, within a couple of days, submitted it, which shows that they, in fact, have this certification. It's been in effect throughout this entire time. It's the engineer's opinion that this does not affect the price of the project at all. I'm of the opinion that this is a minor irregularity with the bid package that was submitted, which you are allowed to waive an best interest of the village when waiver of this doesn't affect the pricing, the delivery of the services, or that type of impact on the project. Doesn't affect the bid pricing. So that's the recommendation from myself and engineers. Actually, in addition to the motions to approve, would be a motion to waive the bid irregularities with EJ Electric Installation Company's bid submission. You do that before you then award the contracts to them.
So once again, because we do this stuff and we put it off and so it's hard to remember exact details. What grant was this one again?
No idea.
HM something.
HMGP.
Yeah.
HMGP, and that was through the state or the Fed?
Hazard mitigation grant program.
That's through the Fed.
Hazard mitigation grant program.
And what makes us think that we're actually gonna get the money for this now with this situation?
Because it's this far along and we haven't been told no.
So when we award this, if we somehow we don't get the money of the grant, we're not under obligation to do this?
You probably, by awarding the contract, would be obligated to now pay unless there's a force majeure clause that talks about removal of funding being a valid reason for that, but,
Well,
you know,
that's problematic.
That should be part of the contract, then, yeah.
well, if it wasn't included in the bid package, then we'd have to, because that would be a material change to the terms and conditions on which we'd be working.
Then we'd have to rebid.
You'd have to rebid.
I was just saying, that's shaky stuff. Is this a 90-10?
I know our match is 20,000, which we budgeted for.
Yeah, that's right, because it's about 200,000 too, so it's 20-10, or 90-10, okay.
Oh, yeah, this is the one for Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw the original bid package.
Okay.
So, do we feel comfortable awarding this? Or not?
Well, I
It is a
guess we don't
federal
know if we can
FEMA
get
grant.
out.
We need that. Just say one more time, Nate, about how that works, whether we're gonna be on the hook for this if somehow we don't get the grant money.
I would err on the side of you're probably on the hook.
Well, then we need to probably do something to make sure, what you just said, force majeure or whatever we have to do to.
Well, again, I think that would be a material change to the contracts, unless these guys are willing to agree to that. You can negotiate a term like that with them, and as long as it doesn't affect the price. But if they say, we want more money, then you'll have to rebid. I mean, it's possible that they'd be willing to, cancel the contract without any payment. I mean, I assume that they have to procure these generators from somewhere, right? And if they're something that they can easily sell to anybody, they might not have any issue just being like, that's fine, we'll just sell them tomorrow to somebody else. Like, I don't know enough about that.
What do you think, Mike? Are we overworried in this?
I don't know. I mean, FEMA pulled everything else from us.
Yeah.
Well, FEMA pulled brick and the FMA, but so far they haven't pulled the HMGP program.
So far.
So far.
They're just
Anything
getting
can happen
started.
tomorrow, yeah.
It's a couple $100,000 of stuff.
Yeah.
It's for the sewer system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a capital reserve for capital improvements.
Yeah, there is, you're right.
We do have the money to absorb it, I don't know if
We
that's
do.
necessarily where we wanna put it if we.
Your question for Dirk is how important are these?
No, we were
That's a
gonna
good
struggle to get the 10% of this. We can't pay the whole 100%.
Well, we certainly can't out of village taxes, but the sewer is a different tax. Not that we want to use it for that.
We do happen to have that much in reserve, but we don't want that.
If I recall correctly, those pumps are substantially old, better here now, so I don't, without talking to Dirk or Tracy, who may have better insight.
Oh, yeah, no, we could use that 400 grand, better places.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And of course, when we were playing with this before, we either applied for 7 of them or something, or we cut it to 2 and they only give us 2. So because we were sniffing at this 90-10 and saying, crap, we should get every generator that we'll ever want at this price,
And we
but
tried,
not at full price.
and they gave us 2 of them.
Yeah.
Technically, we still have it, so. But will we have it a month from now when the invoices come and we're actually trying to get reimbursement?
Yes, so we never have the money, we have the award. Yeah.
Yeah, how long they held the GRI hostage.
You need to ask the question of Hunt and, how certain are they of funding? I mean,
How long do we have to accept these awards?
typically the bid package requires them to be held open for 30 to 60 days. So when were they opened?
April 8th.
So you should have probably at least until your first meeting.
3 days, Mike, we got till Thursday.
No, we probably have at least.
30,
You know what I'm saying, I mean, wise guy about it, like everything else.
So we could try and get some of those answers of what happens if we lose funding.
Yeah, by May 5th, which is your first meeting in May. I can probably try to find it, because I know I didn't see the bid package before it went out either. But,
Why do you guys even bother go out for bid if you think you're not gonna get the bid that you've been awarded? It's just to me.
Well, the federal government is playing around with everything
And
right
now
now.
you're thinking you're not gonna get it.
The federal government is cutting back on all the FEMA stuff. That's why we think. Yes, no?
They're playing around with all the grants.
Bid anything out, you shouldn't. You're afraid to bid.
We're not
I mean,
afraid to
they've done
bid,
it
we'll
to
just
the-
have a change in administration, Rodney.
They've done it to the farmers. They guaranteed them some funds and
We would like that,
Put the
yes,
bill in
that
and they say,
everybody's
"Oh, no, we're not paying
obligated
that
to do what they did, but they're not.
Just remember, the longer you delay it, the more chances you are gonna have to do something.
Well, the government site last got updated today. The program's not cut, it still exists. So. Good to go. The other programs got their notice of funding cut in February. So this is good signs that this is still here, still going.
I would agree.
Until it's not.
Isn't this one that Ron is working on this one too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's working on it, Ron?
Glenn is working on this one.
I can't call in sick, my wife won't allow it.
Dave's looking through the bid package to see what's in there.
At the very least, can I make a motion to waive the bid irregularities with EJ Electric Installation Company?
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
It has no bearing on this,
Right.
it'll just alleviate that.
Second?
A second.
Discussion about that, they sent it back in as soon as we asked for it. Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Frank,
yes.
Charlie.
Yep.
And yes.
let's see where it is in here.
Could we say we would pass it subjecting to
Why not?
being able to confirm that we'd be able to get out of it if our federal funding was
Removed.
eliminated.
It's not up to us to do that. It's whether or not we can from somebody else.
Right, we'd have to negotiate with.
If it was just up to us, we
60
wouldn't have to do
days.
that.
You got 60 days. 60 days from bid opening. So there you go. You got until
First of June.
June 8th.
To accept or do whatever,
Yes.
to accept the bid.
So you've got time to explore this.
And they've got to hold their price.
You're gonna have to hold their price.
So I say, let's explore that, because we can always ask EJ Electric. Right.
You know,
Flat
this
out.
is a great opportunity. What happens if the grant dries up?
So who do we want to talk to? You want to talk to Hunt? You want to talk to the
We'll talk to
contractor?
Hunt, we'll talk to EJ Electric to see how.
So you're gonna do that, Mike?
And Tim said we could call him
Just
tonight,
in
but
place right now.
Yeah.
there's no point calling him. I'll call him tomorrow. So we'll put these on the agenda for next time. But we did pass that thing. So we don't have to do that next time.
About the regularities, yeah.
Yes. So next thing is to approve bumping the budget, increase in revenue. And this is the car and the charge, so part of the car and the chargers. Anybody like to do that?
So, Laura, you're the one that's paying attention to this stuff. Is this what it should be?
Yeah, what's the cordless chargers? Oh, that's the
It's a line.
landscaping, that's the landscaping equipment
Okay.
total. Okay, that's that was the total bill for the landscaping equipment. And then we got in some money of prepayment for the car and the
21.
charging stations, and that's the other amount.
Yeah, 21,259,
Okay.
That's all the money we've gotten for the car and the charging stations so far?
21,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
About
and then
50%.
yeah, and then we'll get the remaining pretty soon. I mean, who knows about the charging station, but for the car, we should be able to.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll motion to approve bumping the budget as shown.
Bumping the budget and we're transferring it to the line items that we paid out.
Yeah.
Okay, bumping and transferring as shown.
Second?
Any other discussion on that? And what she meant by the EV thing is, so in the grant, we've asked for 2 EV charging stations. And right now there's 1 installed in the garage. And to get our money back, we have to take pictures of them both installed. So we're still working through where to put the second one. But anyway, let's vote on this. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Char?
Yes.
And yes. Payment of bills. Friendly payment of bills we do every meeting.
Stuck out.
All right, anybody have any questions? This is not payment of bills. I don't have to pay you to sign from them. But that's fine. Okay. Would anybody like to pay the bills?
A motion to pay the payment of bills.
Second.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Char?
Yep.
And yes. I'll just sign this. Treasurer's report. Everybody get it?
What percent are we at in the year?
God, this is what the 80th month.
May, June, July.
Almost 3/4.
April will be the 9th.
All right, I just wasn't sure how to look at those percentages. I don't know where we were.
And I didn't do my spreadsheet thing by minutes before the meeting, but I will do it. But when I looked at it, 2 weeks ago, when somebody asked me a question about something. We're pretty much tracking, pretty much on track. Some of the, since you are new, there's a couple of things in there that we're trying to figure out accounting wise how to account for. Like the car that we bought for code that looks wrong in that report. And this last motion will hopefully help that. And there's an ambulance we bought on the ambulance side that we took out of the savings account that shows that it like came out of the budget this year. That hopefully our new accountants will help us balance it out so that report looks better.
That's a definite improvement from before.
And there was just a couple, we were like 100% still in the budget for fire protection. Are we not protected against fire?
No,
Talking about revenue, we haven't got that.
right. So on the revenue side, the 100% is that we still need to collect 100%.
Gotcha.
That's the town of Tioga contract that they refuse to pay us.
They don't wanna pay us.
How many percentage is that for the village to increase their tax base?
If they would just pay us.
But we don't have to cover it.
That's true, okay. Yeah, but if we have the ability and we don't, somebody dies, I don't want their liability on this.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no contract in place right now, so they should be getting toned out first.
Right, yep.
And presently, the village is still getting toned out first.
Right, I don't think they are. They're very quick to tell us that there's no contract.
Have we tried to collect the money? Have we sent them a letter and just say, give us some money?
They said, we don't have a contract with you, we don't owe you any money.
That's not
Just
normal.
say it was in a separate account.
I might have said, but
Right. They got a new attorney,
Gee,
they did. As advised them, they don't have a contract or owe us any money.
And he's our favorite attorney.
we did have a verbal contract between two competent parties.
No, we had a written contract.
no, there's no verbal contract, there's no board actions.
They would never sign it.
Okay, well, they'll need us again before we need them.
So that's what that is. On the revenue side, it's, we have to still collect 100%. So anyway, we got a motion and a second, right?
No motion.
Oh, no.
Somebody was thinking about
The treasurer's report, did we vote that yet?
it. No.
No. Anybody like to move that we've received it?
So moved.
Second.
Vote on that, Fran,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Yes.
We did the park grant thing. Procurement policy?
Yeah, so we
Yep.
have to have the finance commission and the clerk treasurer give recommendations or updates on this by the second board meeting of April.
That would be this one.
That's why we gave a copy to all the department heads, all the trustees. I don't recommend changing anything. Just looked at it.
Is it the same thing? Same thing we had
Same
before?
thing we had that.
We recently just updated the procurement policies.
Right.
So they made it no longer a local,
Right.
policy, but it otherwise stayed the same.
I've looked it over recently.
Yeah, I don't see any changes.
Who's on the finance committee?
Terry
Terry.
had been.
No, Fran's on now, right?
Fran and Terry?
Oh, right.
No, just
Fran
Fran.
and Terry
Oh,
swap.
it's just Randy.
Just Fran.
Fran's on the finance committee. Rodney, you recommend it?
Yeah.
Fran, do you recommend that we retain the procurement policy as
Yes.
last year? There's your recommendations.
I'm just making notes. But each department had got a copy, so they're aware of it, all of it.
Yep.
Steward, please, everybody get a copy of it, so they're all on the same.
Good. At least they can't say they haven't seen
You
it.
know, 'cause eventually, sometimes you might want to change the price, how much you want to do, but at this point, I say no.
Under new business, can we look at the RFP for the solar array?
If we put the procurement to bed. Are we done with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just
There's
have
no
to
action.
recommend it. We don't have to take action.
Right.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
I'm gonna say that was brought up,
We reviewed it.
no changes at this point.
Absolutely. Well done.
Okay, so for the RFP for the solar array, what it is we have a grant for a specific amount, and so what this is asking to, what's the most we can get for the available money? We're not looking for the lowest, any lowest bid. We're looking for the most profit. So, since Nate looked at it, we changed it to 60 days at the end. And we changed a little bit of the wording. So the biggest part, the project has a not to exceed amount of $108,555. It's a little bit less than what I had originally.
108,
187,555.
187.
187,555. It's just a little bit less than what I originally just assumed the price we had left was gonna be. So, so the system would offset the energy use of this building. And we would ask for it to, if they can, offset some of the energy use of the DPW garage, or for a battery storage, backup battery storage, and that's something that would help us maintain services through storms or power outages or events like that. Really it's just a RFP that matches the contract we have with NYSERDA for the size of a system that we have contracted for in our grant. So the savings for us, currently, for this building, we're paying something like $1,325 a month on our electric bill. So, we have a large bill. NYSEG's prices are going to be going up in May, and our solar panels would have a life expectancy of 25 years, and the 25-year savings for this system is $750,000 for what we would be saving in our electric bills. So it's a really great return on investment because we aren't putting any money in, it's all coming in from a grant, and then we'll save a lot of money by not having to pay these NYSEG electric bills.
I do have a couple of questions that popped into my brain right off the bat. Has that roof been checked to see if it will support all that?
Yeah,
And how new is that roof? Do we have to replace it within the next 10, 15 years?
No, it was replaced 2 years ago, and then we talked to the contractor. It's a new replacement. We talked to the contractor to see how long it would last. We thought it would last 25 to 30 years.
The other question is the battery storage. Does it have to be indoor, outdoor? Because obviously it's got to be BFE+2 at least. Where would we put that?
We don't think that we would be able to have it, but it would have to be located above.
Right.
Like everything has to be elevated and safe.
I assume that's an internal. It's got to be protected from the elements.
Don't know.
I mean, these are just things that pop up, especially with the battery. This question that I had.
Yeah, I don't know about where the battery would be located. I know that this building in the control room, there's an extra box built in that there's nothing in there for. But I don't know if they would be popping back and forth between the buildings without having to dig a trench. And I don't think that's in our budget. So I don't think we're gonna have.
Without the battery, would we potentially sell our excess energy back to the state and possibly make money off of that if we had any excess?
So how it works is that we get credit for it, and so it's not like we're directly getting this building reduced, we're just getting the credit for the amount that it's capturing. So we would apply and further on to say we've net zeroed this building and get like more grant funds and stuff.
Right,
But,
I'm
like-
just particularly thinking, if we produce more electric than we use, what is NICEAG do with that? Is that just a free gift, or like, do they compensate us?
Our bill we wouldn't have to pay, like, so people who have solar on their homes, they produce more than they're taking, they have a zero bill. It's never negative or anything like that. It's
Is that excess going to NICEAG and they're making more money off of these solar panels than we are? Like, if you're producing 50,000 kilowatts, I'll only use 30, where's that 20,000 go?
So we get credit for everything that's produced, but we're not like it's stored up. Like, we just wouldn't have to
So does it
pay our bill.
Does it reduce the future bills?
Yeah.
Other bills.
So it gives you credit towards future bills, I think is what I'm saying.
Right, that's what I'm trying to.
Ron, what it seems to me like is we are producing electricity through solar. We are selling it to NICEAG.
Right.
And then NICEAG is giving us credit instead of cash, they're giving us credits towards our bill. And I wouldn't think it would be just for this building. So we produce $2,000 worth of stuff every month and we're using 1,300 here, then we get a 700 credit to use somewhere else. I don't know that that's the case. It just sounds like that's the case.
Yeah, it's not directly tied to the meter that it's on. And so we're not, like, our bill is huge. We've got
Right,
meters and
I
all these things.
understand the rectangular, I'm just wondering what they're crediting back, is it the 11 point whatever they're charging people, or are they giving us a fraction of that? I mean, are they negating the delivery charge, that is the same as the kilowatt usage? I mean, I'm just curious how NICEAG plays this, because they're a big company that wants to make money.
Not to our advantage.
No, most definitely not to our, I'm just curious, I mean, we may zero out, that's perfectly fine, but I'm just curious what happens with any overage if we don't have a battery backup system.
Well, I guess, yeah, do we zero out the supply? It's not to pay the delivery,
Right.
All good questions.
right? Because they're still supplying power to the building, but ours would backfeed.
Right, because even though I don't use my gas for my furnace, I still get charged the delivery charge.
Right.
So Ron, what I'm hearing is you just have a lot more questions about how the actual NICEAG program works.
Yes.
And so you're asking Laura to bring information to the next meeting about specifically how that program works.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the net zero, and
Yeah.
hopefully we zero out.
Right.
Right, I'm just curious about NICEAG's plan for, because I know we're not the only people with solar panels that produce more. We may not produce more, I have no idea.
But, so what we're looking for at this meeting is the approvals to send this RFP out, which just gets the contractors to build it.
Which solicits proposals to build it, which allows you to also determine the NICEAG related contract.
The only
issues.
question I had regarding building was the age of the roof,
Right.
and the stability of it, she answered those. so
I have
don't
the same
know.
questions on the roof, but I remember we just did it, but yeah.
We had a gentleman in the room here a little while ago that knows way more about this than anybody, the rest of us do, and that's Mr. Whittemore.
Yeah.
Because he's in that business. And he had a conversation with me about this right when we were first talking about doing this. And he said, none of this stuff is going to be anywhere near what we think it's going to be. These solar panels don't last 25 years. The technology won't last 5 years. The savings will not be anywhere near what you think. He's not the only one that has said that. I believe that to be the case, but if it is, then it is. I don't see a way in the world that this is gonna happen for 25 years and we're gonna save $750,000 on this. But I sure would like it.
I think he was talking about that and he never saw the contract or the proposal to make those comments.
Okay.
But he's in the business.
At the end of those 25 years, what happens to these things? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Hey, I'll tell you what happens. 5 years after we have them, they're out of date.
You decommission.
I mean, what is that?
Means you pay somebody to.
I used to do solar heating. I know this stuff.
He also asked to be included in the, that he wanted to be a bidder on it.
That's a good
So-
question.
There's very few
Yeah,
recycling.
it's
Take these
like
things.
see if I can be a bidder.
The industry's hope is that in 20 years, someone will invent to cycle business to actually do that.
Saving money.
I don't think it's gonna do what we think it's gonna do. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of places that are doing it.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. I see them popping up everywhere.
So anyways, these are just for on the roof of a current building. They're not, anything developing a field. Nobody's really gonna see them.
Actually, there was something on there about possibly doing it on the land back here.
No, that's changed. We've updated it to,
It's still in this paperwork. I just want to know if it is, where is it?
yeah, we changed it. So it's just the roof mounted, system. Not, we fine tuned the language.
So, are you looking for approval to send this out, or?
Yes, yes. So I'll make a motion that we approve the RFP for the solar PV array installation to be able to go out to be issued.
And how are we issuing it? Like, are you working with, like usually Hunt puts it on, there's a bunch of websites that these things get listed on and that kind of thing.
So I need help to put them on wherever they need to go.
We have to put it in the paper.
No, I know, but you're gonna get like nobody for the paper.
It's very special.
Right.
So I have dates on it that say we're gonna issue it April 25th. Can we,
So this is
Make
an
that happen.
RFP. So it's not
Right.
being competitively bid in the sense that you have to do the lowest common bidder or lowest bidder. So I mean, you can affirmatively solicit proposals from firms that provide this service.
How
It would
big is
be-
the bid?
how many pages is this?
I don't want pages. How many better have it? You got pages of bids? I don't want.
Like, what would you send to the potential?
That.
Oh, this.
That. Yep.
You have to put all this in.
So like,
No.
so we can make a little something and then we can, set up a
Your press
link
day
to
is
this.
available at village office. On request or something.
Yeah, I wanna put it like on the village website and then we can list it in the paper and say, here, it's, to see the bid, go to the village
Right,
website.
I can send you a notice.
We can
to the public.
send it so we can, if you want to put it in for Wednesday, this, 30th.
It's not gonna make Wednesday.
Okay, then we can't do it on the 25th.
When the sewer plant was looking for digester cleaning, they called places all over the country, because it's a very limited skill.
Right.
Well, that is, but I also, for that, I did say that I think that needed to be competitive with it.
Right,
because-
no, I'm just trying to compare it, like, you're not gonna be able to just sit here and let them come to you. I mean, I doubt they read the courier.
And this we don't have to competitively bid because this is an energy performance contract, which improves the energy efficiency of your building.
Right, I'm not arguing.
No, I'm just trying to say why the difference.
You need to get online, whatever the case is, and find these places, say, hey, we want you to bid on this, here's a package.
Right.
Okay, so.
And it's there, I mean, does every company look with grants, or are they selected? I have no idea how it works.
Almost every, NYSERDA has a list of contractors that are like NYSERDA certified, might not be the right word, but like that have used.
So does that have to be like a state company? or-
No, but like there's, like insofar as we're trying to find a vendor,
Right.
Laura can probably reach out to NYSERDA and get a list of vendors.
Our chosen vendor has to have a New York State SUN number. So as long as they have that, they can,
That's
They
where
can see
NYSERDA
it.
will have a list which
Oh, those Sun
Laura
number.
can contact and say, all right, we're soliciting proposals, here's our RFP.
That might be more likely to get a hit.
Yes. Yeah, putting it in the paper, probably not get anybody.
Rod, if I change it to the 28th? would
That's
we-
next Monday.
Yeah, if I, like the issue date.
Can you make it the following, the Wednesday after this one?
So the
30th.
April 30th.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so if we issue it April 30th, and then would I still be able to receive the proposals May 28th? Or do I have to bump that back?
You could set whatever time frame is appropriate. I mean, 4 weeks is relatively close to 30 days, so it should be. Well, even then, 30 days, 20 to 30 days is typically fine. That should be fine.
What if I say by May 30th?
That would
be fine.
All right, so I'll change it to April 30th and May 30th.
There's an awful lot of solar going in this area. There's gotta be companies around that do it.
Yeah.
I don't know who's in charge of these solar fields, and there might be an avenue to price too.
As long as we have a package, we can send people the price package.
Right.
So, we can send the best. I don't know, just courier.
You're not gonna get anybody from that.
Okay, just do the courier and then all our other advertising. Okay. So it'll be for, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, it'll be in the paper, ready to go.
Okay.
Just open up an Indeed account.
Okay. You need a motion to do all this stuff?
Probably should.
Okay.
I motioned it.
Appreciate it. Hooray.
Do we have a second for that?
Oh, I'll second it.
Brandon, okay.
Rusty?
Are we about done?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, you spent a lot of time and trouble on all this stuff, and I appreciate how hard you worked to put all this stuff together for us. I'd like to thank
You're going last, okay. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
No.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rusty?
No,
Yes.
Yes, yes. Brandon, yes.
5-2, right?
Ron, over here? Yeah.
Yes.
that would be
Charles
seven.
is a yes.
4-2.
Brandon was a yes.
Charles is a
4-2.
Rusty was a no.
So,
No, Rusty and Charles.
yes. We got a couple minutes. Oh, I mean, they're the same meeting, just one's the annual meeting and one's the regular meeting.
Yeah, are they separate?
They are separate.
Yeah, there was one motion that I made instead of Terry, but I don't know if that matters.
Okay.
It's totally fine with me. I don't think
Should be accurate.
Generic, annual meeting.
Terry didn't want to make it exactly because it was to remove the zoning thing. And so I made the motion. So,
Give it to Rodney and you'll
Yeah,
fix it.
yeah, just give
We
it
can
a
fix it.
We'll swap it around.
okay.
Other than that,
Other than that, motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held April 7th,
Second.
This is for the regular meeting.
the regular meeting.
Nobody called, we're paying our EMTs $27,000 an hour. I did.
Did we do that?
She had a comma instead of a decimal point. But anyway, she fixed it.
Sometimes,
Okay, it's a clerical thing.
sometimes those are great.
I bet they would appreciate it.
I second Rodney.
Russell,
Anything else, though? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
And then motion to approve the minutes of the annual meeting held the April 7th.
Second. Too slow, man.
He's got that ready.
Any other comments on the annual meeting? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Trustee reports. Rusty?
Yeah, I've got something to say this time.
Perfect.
When am I ever happy? I'm not happy with that 90 Temple Street grant. I'm not happy with hearing the numbers that things are gonna cost. I'm not happy with fixing the windows. There's $90,000 worth of asbestos stuff. I'm not happy with another $100,000 on the window, so they're $200,000. I'm not happy with any of it. I don't think that we should do that. I don't think we should be spending that kind of money on it. They said we can put new storm windows. Then let's not fix the damn windows at all. Let's get some nice new storm windows that don't have to fit any ship boat thing because they don't have to be wood. They don't have to be that. Let's get some nice new storm windows and let's put them over the crappy windows that we got that leak or that are broken for 10 grand and not 200 grand for windows. Just a bunch of stuff there just didn't sit well with me. I don't know how we fight with SHPO. We need a roof over the front. And of course, we're not going to do that because SHPO doesn't want us to do that, or probably doesn't, or maybe they let us. They kind of told us we could put a little something there. I'm just not pleased. That's why I was asking how much money we had invested in this so far. We've talked about it a lot of times. For our $157,000, what could we, what could we do there for our 157 instead of without the state's 480? Can we put all the windows in for a tenth of the money and on and on and on? I'm still at that same place with that. But I'm really serious about the windows, at $200,000 for the windows. Get some pretty nifty storms to put on them. Whatever. That's what I got to say about that. And that blends into, we're in money trouble. We got this year's budget coming up, and we get 90-10 grants. That's good, and I like that, but we don't have a ton of money to be spending here and there and everywhere. I don't know how we're gonna put this budget together. But
Say that every year.
yeah, we do, and we're I'm in trouble every year.
It's tighter this year.
It's tighter than ever. Because, I mean, we did the deal last year where we brought it in at 1.9 and then they blasted us with the extra stuff, and so we popped it back down, and we knew that wasn't a good plan, and we did it. Anyway.
And a few months later, they say, oopsie.
Yeah, and then
You do have the money.
We actually lowered tax.
and we lowered taxes, which is nice, except now we gotta raise them back up just to get to even and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's most of my stuff. I'm worried about the dough.
Ron,
I'm still talking with a couple of residents to try to fill the zoning and planning board. I think I've got a couple, I need to have a few more conversations just about the time commitment. I don't know how many positions exactly we need, I know what it's gonna need, and I know Julie expressed interest in possibly stepping down.
at least one. I do have somebody who's probably interested in one of them. He's been interested in a while.
That's all I've got.
Charles.
I think we covered everything major with on my report. I just want to say that with this grand opening of the skate park, it was a success. People came down, all the news crews covered everything. Mr. Rufner came down. That was kind of emotional. Right on time.
I wonder if he was able to make it in time.
Yeah, he made it in. He made it on time. It was great. I was able to get Ice Cream Works to come down, and he was there, and they sold ice cream. And then afterwards, I got to thinking, why stop there? For the summer, we should have Ice Cream Work guy come through the park. We got the skate park, we got the pool, we got the playground area, we got the pickleball court, we got basketball. I think we all scream for ice cream.
He's got a truck now too.
He's got that truck. Who would love to see the ice cream truck roll up on a hot summer day and you're out there? So I talked to the mayor, and we agreed that might be a good idea. So I just wanted to bring it to everybody here so everybody knows what I'm going to ask the ice cream man to do this summer. So that we can all.
You'd have to get a $300 permit.
Does he? Okay, because that was my question.
Unless he's a veteran.
That would be another question.
Yeah.
If he's a veteran, I think we can waive it.
Right. It's not that he'll be stationed there all day.
I mean, he already does stuff with the village anyway, so he probably already has a permit.
Does that permit cover the year, or how does that work?
300 covers a year, $100 covers you for like a weekend.
What is that? Say that again.
$300 for the year.
For the year, would that be seasonal? I'm just talking about summer.
No, we just
Probably a year.
We don't have a month or something. We got a 2-day or whatever it is, and we got a year.
Is that anywhere in the village, Rob?
Anytime the weather's
Yeah,
nice.
that covers anywhere in the village, right?
anywhere in the village.
But it probably doesn't actually allow somebody to do it in a park,
Roll through a park.
would be my guess. I'm just wondering, like that's the thing to double check on, because it's probably just to sell it from like the streets. But
Yeah.
your parks aren't streets, the parks, you guys control them, so you can limit vendors, otherwise you might get
Well,
overrun with
I know
vendors.
the town allows them to sell at their parks. Not this guy.
Yeah, I don't want a bunch of food trucks showing
We
up.
get
I'm
to
just
choose
ice cream
who
man.
goes in and doesn't, right?
In your own parks, yeah, I mean, that would be my,
We don't allow vending unless it's by permit. in the park. And then, you know, some different parks have like, you know, agreements with places for rental companies and food sales and stuff like that. So would we be getting a cut, or like what's the deal, like if we're choosing one person to vend food in our park?
So I think probably the first thing is Charles should talk to the guy. And then talk to Ron.
And see if he's interested.
See if he's interested. Talk with Ron about what we've done in the past, and then come back, Charles, talk to me, what all that is. And then I can look at the code and figure out whether there's anything else that needs to be figured out at that point.
Yeah, because my idea was like, he's not gonna be stationed out there. I'm like, get a roll through, you know, you have a ice cream truck come to the neighborhood one time a day, and everybody's, oh, ice cream, they run down there. I mean, come on.
You know he's coming every day at 2 o'clock. I used to love hearing that music as a kid.
You know,
Right.
Mom, give me a quarter.
you know,
If he times his round right with the food break.
That would be smart.
I think it'll be a good thing. I'm not gonna have like the taco man show up.
Good, we had taco, man. I'd be out there.
Doug's Fish Fry, Firehouse Subs. I'm not trying to start a whole thing, you know, it's just.
We did that one year, didn't we?
Huh?
We did that one year in Marvin Park.
Oh, yeah, fair food thing.
So Rod, interestingly, no person who deals exclusively in milk products, newspapers or farm products, produced by him or his employer shall be required to secure a license under the hawkers and solicitors law.
So is he a milk product guy?
I think that's
Yeah, I think ice cream.
I think so.
Maybe he doesn't even need a permit.
So would that make him exempt from?
It might.
But at least from that, we have to double check whether the parks
He doesn't serve his
require
own ice cream.
village board of approval to use.
Yes, Village Board, go to the park, just
So it's like
drive
selling
by.
milk and cheese, like your agriculture.
Probably agriculture.
Probably agriculture.
Probably where that came from.
Some of my milk.
But also children's ice cream. Who wants to stop that?
You know,
That's right.
And nice food.
That's Christmas.
well, it's an idea, and I just wanted to bring it to everybody here so that you didn't think I was just doing stuff.
We just assume you're always just doing.
Well, you know, I'm looking out for the greater good. So that's all I got. I just wanted to bring it up. We'll do research, figure out stuff before I go and use, Nate, you suggest I talk to him first?
Yep. See if he's interested.
Okay.
So you're saying you don't think there's any fee for him to do that?
We don't think so. That's probably how he can drive his ice cream truck around town.
So the thing that he does have to get is a permit issued by the village clerk treasurer. Because no person or organization shall sell or offer for sale any merchandise or anything of value within the park area in connection with things to be sold or provided outside the park. All right, we'll have to look at it a little closer.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. You got my email. Just let me know so I know how to close it. I mean, if it's something that's not costly, I'll write a permit myself. Can I do that? Is that legal?
I'm overpaying you.
You can get permits.
To allow somebody else to,
You can give money to him.
Yeah.
No one's gonna stop you from doing that.
there you go.
Go buy a whole carton of ice cream.
For the kids, for anybody, kids of all ages.
Yeah.
We all scream.
I think it would help us. Not everybody can make it down there.
Right. If you could time it with the brakes, you'd probably make out like that.
But
The pool's free. Somebody should be making some damn money off of it.
Start charging a quarter.
What it was when I was a kid. I would think it'd be 50 cents by now.
Anything else, Chuck?
that's all I got.
Laura?
I wrote an article and it's already appearing in some papers about brick DTA. The government at first put it on pause and then now has like officially ended all the programs and clawed back past funding, current projects, and future money. So our 3-year agreement where they were helping us, do the infrastructure scoping for like how could we improve our buildings, how could we improve our infrastructure, how could we improve our laws, how could we get more training, how could we help people in their homes and their businesses to become safer and get them money, how could we have heating and cooling centers, how could we have evacuation routes. And so everything now is been ripped away from us. And also the government also canceled the brick in general. So the other grant that we recently tried to apply for the Building Codes Plus Up, that also is been ended.
All right, so what you're saying, we already know this. So what are you proposing? We're gonna go out and protest and change things? Where are you going with this?
I'm announcing that our programs have ended, that we,
Right, but I don't think the general public knew. You
I think we did discuss this on the last meeting.
uh,
I was just curious, I'm sorry, because I was like, I just heard this before and I just wanted to know.
Can I
All
ask you
right.
a quick question of information?
mhm.
So do we have things that we expected to get money back for, that we put money out for in the whole brick stuff that we're no longer gonna get? So maybe we paid somebody or something to do something,
No.
we thought we were gonna get money back, so we're not in jeopardy there.
No,
Okay,
no.
that
That was
that's
a good question. I thought that was leading to that.
Yeah, exactly.
That would've-
Luckily, the brick stuff was FEMA paying FEMA.
No, I just,
I just didn't want you to beat a dead horse.
Okay,
I thought the article was good, informational.
thanks. So I did do an invasive species information thing as urban forestry today thing. So I learned about all the things that are coming and affecting us. And I attended the Binghamton Metropolitan Transportation Study Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee meeting. So I learned about what bridges and stuff are getting replaced and different plans, things that are happening.
Anything else?
Just I would appreciate it if like comments could wait. Like I don't care if you've heard it before. You
Said
can
it before.
just wait.
I just
and-
didn't want you to go on and
Okay.
on about something that we already knew. That's all. I thought maybe it was leading to like what Rusty was saying. And maybe, ooh, yeah, so we're gonna get something back because we invested this and that. That'd have been great. But to hear the same thing, I mean, we all down in the dumps about having this project ripped from us when we did so much work to get it. It's heartbreaking. I get it.
Thanks.
I didn't mean no offense.
Okay, my report's over.
Let's see, Terry's on traveling.
Very tropical.
I'll bring up Fran?
Only thing I wanna mention tonight is, a week from today, on, the 28th at 11 a.m., we are having a meeting with the cemetery committee and with Fred and with anybody else that's interested up in the cemetery to discuss, that, program with the trees from the, county soil and water that they brought to us back in, I guess it was I was incapacitated at the time, but it was brought to the board back then. So anyway, we're meeting with those folks at 11 a.m. next Monday, so anybody that's interested, please come.
Mike,
Fran,
can I finish
Oh,
up
thank you.
something here? Rand's all done?
I'm all done.
We can always come back around to you.
Yeah, because I can never remember. This is about the street light that people are complaining about all the time. So last time a couple times ago, brought forth
Traffic light?
the broom traffic study that said that the way that should go is one main street should flow and the other street should stop. And that's my opinion, it was the Traffic Safety Committee's opinion. When I go through that intersection numerous times a day, and I really like it, when I come up Church Street now, I might have to wait 5 seconds or no seconds to get out of there, and the people coming down Main Street don't have to wait at all. If we start having some trouble and we have some accidents or something, then that's another deal. But I think that it's flowing really well. That's my opinion. I haven't gotten around to it, and it's one of the things that we haven't done, but I have my little notebook here I got a great big notebook of 50 or 100 things to change in the traffic code, but I've got about 10 things here. And they include the distance of parking on Main and Page, the distance of eliminating some, moving some, the distance of parking on Church and Main, and a couple other things. I will try to get this in a form that you can all see and bring it with these potential changes. And also along those changes, we need to change the parking fines. So there are a couple of changes that are going to be proposed in the parking fines, etc. So I'll try to get that in a printed form so you can look at it.
Or have Nate help you with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, and we're not ignoring the Church Street thing. And then it includes taking away 2 parking spaces on each side of this, one on each side of the street by the theater and by the VFW to get a better view down there, but not 3 or 4 or 5, because they can't do that. Okay, so that's my last piece, things.
Down to me. So we did get a notice from the village code office. They've received a number of inquiries regarding requirements for short-term rentals, such as Airbnb. At this time, village code does not have any specific regulation allowing or disallowing short-term rentals, aka bed and breakfast, nor does it set any requirements. This creates an issue for code pertaining to the regulation and enforcement, such as zoning ordinance, business regulations, fire and building safety. So New York State apparently just passed some legislation on this kind of stuff. So this is stuff that we probably need to look at, kind of plays into that other zoning thing that we got, so. So anyway, Mick and Terry have wrote us, gave us a bunch of examples of different stuff, so.
If we get a copy of that.
Right. Get this in your boxes as long.
So look at that, with that other thing too.
There's 16 pages from the town of Hunter. There's a bunch of pages from the town of Cooperstown, potential things.
So in the last couple of weeks, I met with the Rotary, like gave them a little dog and pony show of what's been going on in the village, DRI related, non-DRI related. So something I did. And for our next meeting, I will probably be on the TV because I'll be driving to Florida.
Rod, you'll have to.
Charles will be running the show.
Rod, you'll have to update the hearing note or the public meeting notice to include the link to the GoToMeetings. Now, I know it's on the agenda, but like there needs to be a separate publication saying, it needs, I mean, all the normal places, but I think we should probably have to double check. We might have to put it in the paper. Or at least notify the newspaper that this is a meeting that's accessible to the public because of the extraordinary circumstances in which the mayor finds himself requiring his participation remotely. Alternatively, Mayor, you could just not participate.
Well, I was thinking I'd just be on there and not vote.
Yeah, you shouldn't really discuss either. Like, you shouldn't be acting as the mayor. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just that there's an extra step that has to be followed in order to have a board member attend remotely.
Okay.
That's technically what the law says. If you're going to participate, that has to be open to everybody.
You're just a member of the public.
That's fine. I don't care. I'm just saying I won't be here next meeting. I'll be somewhere between here and South Carolina.
Excellent.
Well, don't be driving and talking.
That's right. Whatever. We got a lot of technology.
Let your wife drive.
She don't drive. Not like that. So anyway, that's all I got. I won't be here next meeting. And for the week after that. Really pertain to anything. I still have my phone, all that kind of stuff. I'd just be in Florida.
which will be here in a month from today, right?
I will, yes. Be back with 13. Public comment?
Also,
Move to adjourn.
So,
Yeah, I seconded that.